Great day today, ladies and gentlemen. Officially got the yard done, got my car washed, woke up this morning, spontaneously went and ran a marathon, a second marathon the past 12 days. Feel like I'm freaking Superman. Come back, check the phone. Kyler Murray is returning. We thought the Cardinals may have just been tanking. The Cardinals may have just been shutting down. Maybe they're playing Kyler to see if they can go out there and get some kind of trade value and send him away for next season. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. All I know is I like seeing good players play the game of football, and I think that Kyler Murray is better than Joshua Dobbs. Now, I will say, Joshua Dobbs playing this week against Seattle, so don't fire up all your Arizona Cardinals just yet. Still, nobody's necessarily too exciting in Arizona at this point, and I don't necessarily think that the Arizona Cardinals are a Super Bowl contender. No, the Cardinals are still bad. Let me go ahead and pull up the updated win totals that we have for the NFL here and what we should be expecting with the Cardinals. So right now, if you are looking at sports books, you still have the expected win total at 4.5 wins, which is the same as the Giants, the Broncos, the Pats, and then you have the Panthers at 3.5. So the Cardinals are still supposed to be a bottom 5 team. This does bump up Hollywood Brown, and at the same time, this will bump up Kyler Murray clearly, because with Kyler Murray, this is a quarterback that does have a considerable amount of rushing upside. So even if Kyler isn't great from a real-life perspective, even if the Cardinals aren't great themselves, you still need to be picking up Kyler for what he can do as a rusher. But let me go ahead and pull up these questions, ladies and gentlemen. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. I mean, it looks like about 10% of y'all have hit that like button. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. You know, we've live streamed every single day since April. Not going to miss a day until 2024. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, Underdog actually has a few specials. The Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, only if you are new to Underdog Fantasy. Maybe get a Reimbuster one as well. I think it's going to be dependent on your... I don't know if everybody gets it. I'm assuming that's true. Can't say that for certainty, though. But I do know for certain as well that everybody's going to be getting a LeBron special tip-off, more than less than half a point. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. If you want all that, plus our rankings, plus a 100% deposit match, promo code FLOCK. But I think that should be it. Let's go ahead and let's pull up our first question coming from Mason. My man, great name. I'm assuming you're handsome as hell. 4-2, happy BR. We have Mahomes, Cup, Debo, Hall, Mostert, Laporta, Higgins, Flowers, Watson, Roshan, Spears, Hunt, Zay, Kyler. Any ideas? I mean, obviously, if you have Mahomes and you have Kyler Murray coming back, I mean, at that point, if we could go through and send Kyler and Debo Samuel and go get like an elite level wide receiver, that would be very interesting. And if you think about the landscape of the quarterback position right now, ladies and gentlemen, there is that outside chance that you could go through and make a move like that involving Kyler. He does have the rushing upside like we were talking about previously. And at the same time, you have the injuries to both Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson, making it where a lot of teams do need quarterback help. Now, Neil says, yo, need some help on this. 10-team super flex. We have Hurts, Dak, Bijan, Brees, Kamara, JT, Tajee, Lamb, Olave, Watson, DJ, Evans, Myers, Musgrave. We think a JT, DJ, Watson for Kelsey. Maybe able to swap Watson and Evans. Really, Evans, Watson, tomato. It is really going to be up to you. 10-team super flex format. I don't necessarily think that we need to have a super strong tight end. If we could get Kelsey, it would be great. It does seem like we're giving up a considerable amount here. If this is a league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I'm fine going out of our way and overpaying to bring Travis Kelsey in here. If it's a league with multiple flex spots, I would say at that point, we probably want to be keeping the wide receiver. And then just countering and sending JT and say DJ Moore, right? JT, DJ Moore, and see if we can go get Kelsey there. If it's multiple flex spots. Now, Clutch Box is when you trade CMC, James Cook, and Ridley for Bijan, Eckler, Michael Thomas. CMC to Eckler, kind of up to you. You want rest of season. Depends if you need points now or points later. Keep in mind, Eckler already threw his bye, so you're going to get an extra game. Now, Eckler will not be as appealing once CMC's healthy. But obviously, that's not the case right now. Ridley to Michael Thomas, downgrade at wide receiver. But going James Cook to Bijan Robinson is such an upgrade that with the CMC injury, yes, I think we want to go out there and trade for Bijan and Eckler. Brutus, always happy to see us, says, I'm 4-2 in a 10-team full BBR, getting offers for Kamara. Should we trade him and Godwin for Lamb or Kamara for Ayuk? Definitely would not do the Ayuk deal. My running backs are Jacobs, Walker, Stevenson. My receivers are Hill, Ridley, Wilson, Palmer, just hold. I think that it is advantageous for us to go out there and sell Kamara on this team if we're getting Jamal back in and maybe the volume does change just a bit. However, with that being said, I don't know if we're getting enough value here. We're definitely not getting enough value selling Kamara for Ayuk. Selling Kamara and Godwin for Lamb's a little bit better. I would see if we can squeeze out a little more value, though. Batmax says, have BBR might trade Walker and Pittman for Chase and Aaron Jones. I mean, I would love that, my man. We have Hill, Moore, Pittman, Davis, Osborne, Zay, Henry, Walker, Mixon, Spears, Stroud. 3 wide receiver double flex, so wide receiver depth's going to matter a lot here, but we are getting that elite level wide receiver in return. So I think we would go ahead and do this. I mean, obviously Walker already threw his bye week, but you also have Aaron Jones already through his. So yeah, if we can get Jamar Chase, Aaron Jones, I think we're upgrading one spot, downgrading the other, but we're sending the second and the third best player for the first and the fourth best. And I'm always looking to get that best player in the deal if we can. Colby says, trade Garrett Wilson and Lawrence for Mahomes. I would, my friend. And now Bingwin coming out says, start sit, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. We have Jacobs, Ford, White, JT, Watson, Olave, JSN, Godwin. We have Chase, T, Hall, and Wilson on bye. That is brutal, my friend. Our running backs, we're going to be going with Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor. Our wide receivers, we're going to be going with Chris Godwin and Chris Olave. And then for that flex spot, we will go ahead and we'll play Christian Watson. We'll bench Jerome Ford and Rashad White. And they would be the only other guys that'd be interesting. Justin says, George Pickens for Christian Watson. What are your thoughts? I'm completely fine with this move. Both guys already threw their bye. I mean, it really does come down to what do you expect from Jordan Love rest of season. If you think Love is a fine quarterback, go for it. Isaiah says, Tua JT for Eckler, Geno, Superflex offer on the table. So Eckler to Tua, downgrade even in Superflex. Geno to JT. So really, who do you expect to have more? Where's the larger points per game gap? Is it between JT and Eckler or Tua and Geno? I think it's tough. I do think that it's up to your personal preference. I think I kind of want to say the Tua side, but at the same time, Geno and Eckler already through their respective buys, so you're getting 2 extra weeks with those guys. Ethan says 3-3, 10T BBR. We have Mahomes, Pollard, Kyron, Pacheco, Tajee, Wilson, Roshan, Lamb, Smith, Wilson, Palmer, Dobbs, Tony, Wandale, flex Roshan or Jeff. We're going to go Roshan Johnson and then trade Pacheco for Aaron Jones. I would trade Pacheco for Aaron Jones. I think that'd make a lot of sense in a full PPR format, my friend. And if we were going to do that move, we kind of have to do it now before he plays Denver because it'll probably be our last chance to. And then outside of that, it's a very well-balanced roster. I think we just need to be a little bit patient here. I will say it's probably safe to cut Kadarius Toney for another option off the waiver wire at this point, especially with McCole Hardman getting sent over to KC. Jacob says, Puka owner wants to trade him away. I'd like to trade the following: Ridley, London, Myers, Stroud, Nico. Who trade? Essentially, what should we trade? If Stroud is our backup quarterback, I mean, I'd love to go out there and send Stroud and Myers, Stroud and London, Stroud and Nico. I'd sell any of these wide receivers. And then when it comes to Ridley, I think Ridley for Puka, probably give me Puka, but it's not a far enough gap where I can say that I would want to be adding in Stroud at the same time. Mitigated Frame says, Julio going to have 600 yards and 15 touchdowns, calling it now. Okay, I wish you knew the best of luck if you're an Eagles fan, my friend, but I will say I am really hoping Julio's great. Do not waste a roster spot on Julio, though. Okay. David says, full BBR, 10-team league. We have Allen, JT, Walker, Tyreek, Allen, Ertz, Puka, Ford, Hubbard, Spears, Godwin. I'm 4-2. I believe we need another running back. Any suggestions? Someone wants Jerome Ford. Hell, if someone's willing to go out there and buy Jerome Ford for us, I'd be an active seller of Jerome Ford if we can. I mean, if we're going to be looking at pieces that are potentially expendable from this team, I mean, I want to hold on to JT. I want to hold on to Walker. I want to hold on to Tyreek. I want to hold on to Keenan. We don't really have any value with anybody else. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, then at that point, if you wanted to see if we could sell like Godwin and Jerome Ford and go get a running back that we're more excited about, I think that would make a lot of sense. Or you could sell like Jerome Ford and Godwin maybe for Aaron Jones. I think you can go ahead and do that. Williams says 12-team Happy BR where we have Herbert, Walker, ETN, Brian Robinson, Diggs, Olave, Addison, Goff, JSN, Algier, Reynolds, Downs. 5-1, looking to make any 2-for-1 deals. What are your thoughts? I think it's a great team. I mean, I think that you have enough depth where a 2-for-1 deal does make a lot of sense here. And I'll say if you have Justin Herbert already through his bye, I mean, if you could approach that team that has Justin Fields, if you could approach that team that has Anthony Richardson and go, hey man, I'll give you Jared Goff and Jordan Addison, give me a stud receiver. I'll give you Jared Goff and Brian Robinson, give me a stud running back for the flex. So I think we could look to go ahead and do that, but in reality, you're in a great spot. Mo says, full BBR, Evans, Pittman, Roschon, Javonte, or Osborne. We need a running back and a flex. Thank you, Flog Up. Thank you, my friend. I really have no idea what to expect with the usage of the running backs in Los Angeles. I think we need to wait a few more days to hear from Sean McVay about the expected workload of Zach Evans. If Evans looks like he's the guy, then you can start him at running back if you'd really like. If not, I probably go Roschon, but I'm very biased. Hook 'em horns. Javonte may be the correct answer. My thing with Javonte is just in a 3-man running back by committee. And then you have to go Michael Pittman for the flex. I understand it's a horrendous matchup going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL, but still. Batmax says I would get Aaron Jones or Ramondre in the deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this back up, my friends. I would rather have Aaron Jones over Ramondre Stevenson at this point. If that's what we're looking at, I would rather have Aaron Jones over Stevenson, so I'd keep it how you have it. Now, Killicam says PBR, give Mixon, McLaurin, get Gibbs, Flowers, which side? Mixon over Gibbs, McLaurin, Flowers, give me Flowers, but it's a depth wide receiver piece. Don't necessarily know if we care too much. So I would go ahead and I would just say Mixon, McLaurin, my friend, even if I do expect that, I mean, Gibbs could be in a better spot with no Montgomery, of course. Now, Tyler coming out with our next question saying 10-team Happy BR, single flex, 5-1. We have Allen, Pollard, Jones, Ramondre, Brian Robinson, Roschon, Warren, Tyreek, AJ Brown, Nico T, JSN, Andrews. Phenomenal team. 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. The depth doesn't really matter too much for us at the wide receiver position. And at the same time, I mean, if we're going to be looking at this, you have Tyreek, you have AJ Brown, you have T. Higgins, you have Nico, you have so many solid wide receivers. If we could take like Nico Collins and I don't know, this is such a good team. There's a reason why we're 5-1. If you wanted to go through and send like Nico Collins and Ramondre Stevenson and go get, if we can somehow get like Jefferson, that would be an absolute no-brainer. I'm trying to think. Really, just one of those 2-for-1 deals. And I think since we're 5-1, we are absolutely loaded. We can afford to look for one of those guys that will have the long-term upside and not be producing right now. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, about to hit 200 likes on the stream. If you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button. Looks like about 10% of y'all have. And if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Underdog is going freaking nuts with their special pick'ems right now. You have a LeBron special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, you're going to be getting like a special Derek Carr pick'em more than less than half a total yard for Thursday as well. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. You can find that link in the live chat description, comment section. Promo code FLOG will also get you a 100% deposit match in our rest of season rankings. Now, Kevin coming out and says 12-team PBR 5-1, second place. Who would you rather have rest of season? Kyron, Jacobs, HN, and should we sell Smith for Kamara? It's kind of up to you there. I think that Smith is an intriguing buy low. Kamara's possibly sell high, but I would say in 99.999% of leagues, everybody would have Kamara over Smith. So just off a value perspective, maybe you have to do it. And then the rest of season between those running backs, I think I am going to take Josh Jacobs, getting the guaranteed volume. He's leading the NFL in targets right now at the running back position. Cole says, should we trade Aaron Jones for Jefferson? We're 4-2 with CMC, Mixon, Rashad, Aaron Jones. Yes, let's go ahead. Even in a double flex league, we are strong enough. And being 4-2, we can think long-term enough. Let's get Jefferson. Juan says, made a couple trades while I was 1-3. Now I'm 3-3. We have Allen, Eckler, Pollard, Kyron, Kupp, Puka, Olave, Kelsey, Watson, Hopkins. Any moves? Highest scoring in my league as well. Should we offer Puka and Kyron in a package? I would say no. I mean, Puka was a guy that we were looking to sell earlier in the year, but now at this point, with his values fallen, I'm not going to be selling him. If you wanted to send Kyron and Christian Watson or Kyron and DeAndre Hopkins, go get an upgraded running back, I think that could make some sense. I mean, I talk about this a little bit, but in the video tomorrow, Kyron is potentially a sell high running back for us coming off a game where he just looked like one of the best RBs in the NFL. I mean, the man having like 160 or just rushing yards straight up in this game. My thing is the injury may open up the door for this to turn into a little bit of a running back by committee where he's not getting 100% of everything. So if you wanted to sell Kyron, I'm okay with it. However, I think the time to sell Puka was a few weeks back. I think if you're selling now, you're selling it too much of a low point. 44 MSU, always happy to see us, says, thoughts, 10-team PBR will be 5-2, where we have Tua, Bijan, Walker, AJ Waddle, Andrews, Flowers, Ridley, Charbonnet, Mitchell, Bourne, Hunt, Spears, HN. Any moves or any waiver wire targets? Also open for a Miami Philly shootout. So am I, my friend. I mean, I think it should be a very, very exciting game. But, I mean, in terms of moves, we're elite at running back. We great wide receivers. We have a solid quarterback, top 5 QB rest of season. Like, we're not overloaded on depth. If you are looking at what we're doing down there at the bottom ends, I mean, we are focusing on some of these running backs like Hunt, Spears, that if an injury were to occur in front of them, you should be in a really good spot. And at the same time, you actually just got some news regarding Derrick Henry that maybe he's being dealt. It's from like an NFL rumors account, so I don't know if it's legitimate. I don't want to think about it too much here. But still, I mean, that's somewhat interesting. I think it's a phenomenal team top to bottom with the roster construction for our format, for our exact situation. So honestly, my friend, I don't necessarily think that there is anything we're looking to do. I wish I had something for you. But Devin says 12-team PBR single flex. 5-1 in first. Should we trade James Cook for T. Higgins? We have Lamar, Bijan, Mostert, Puka, Watson, Andrews, Cook, Montgomery, Stroud, Wilson, JSN, Garrett Wilson. And thing is, if we already have like enough wide receiver, actually, I think we can do it. We can do it. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole and play the what if game, but if there's a chance Derrick Henry's getting dealt, Buffalo would make a lot of sense. James Cook is seeing his workload take a step back regardless. So if you wanted to make that play for T. Higgins, I think you're completely fine doing so. You have a phenomenal team. Cap says, how to make a trade where 5-1 traded away Amon St. Brown for Waddle, Ford, and Goddard. Bad deal. We have Bijan, Pierce, HN, Flowers, Watson, Ridley, Musgrave, Deontay off IR. I'm sorry, my friend. I understand and I agree. You had to make a trade. I don't necessarily think this is the way that you should have gone about it. If you were 1-5 and needed some points in right now, instead of trading a productive player that we are excited about for this moment, I would have rather sold someone that has the long-term upside that's not really giving us anything right now. So if we could go through and if we could have sold like Devon Achane, I think that would have made a lot more sense. Miles says 5-1, 12-team PPR. Trade Myers, Roschon for Higgins and Gibbs. Myers to Higgins, give me Higgins. Don't tell anybody else. Roschon to Gibbs, give me Gibbs easily. So yeah, I would 100% do that. And then who are we going to put in the flex this week? Rasheed, Roschon, Dobbs, or Jaleel? We would go Roschon out of these guys. But I mean, if we did make that trade, then at that point, I mean, we're going to be starting Gibbs. Driss says 10-team full BBR single flex. Just traded London James Cook for Aaron Jones. Good move. 10-team single flex. London does not matter at all. Team is now Lamar, Swift, Barkley, Amon-Ra, Rashad White, CD, Andrews, Aaron Jones, Zay, Deontay, Rice, Warren, Javonte, Achane, Charbonnet. Any more moves? Not necessarily. I think that we did the right thing when we're getting this extra wide receiver depth coming back with Deontay Johnson off the IR. We sold that depth wide receiver to go get an upgrade in the starting lineup. I thought that made a lot of sense. But now that we've already sold that depth, I think we're more so in a position where we probably just want to be sitting on our hands and waiting until we get Devon Achane back in here, my friend. Okay. But Caleb coming out saying, I'm 2-4, 10-team full BBR with Tua, Pollard, Achane, Jones, Kamara, Kupp, Adams, Smith, Andrews. I got offered Adam Thielen for Devontae Adams today. I definitely would prefer Adams over Thielen, even if Thielen has been better so far this season. And I think this is a phenomenal team. I think that you will get a bounce back from Adams. I think we'll get a bounce back from Devonta Smith. The only thing that I would say is going back to what we're talking about with that other team. Whenever you're 2-4, you're 1-5. Like, it does make sense to just throw a player like Devon Achane out there on the trade block to see if we're going to get something that would help us right now. But with that being said, I mean, this team is so loaded that we don't even have to do it. And I think we could more so just sit on our hands. Duran says, Diggs, Puka, T, Zay, Deontay, Josh, Moss, Warren. Trying to trade Zay and Moss for Brees. What's the max I should pay for Brees if he won't accept? Zay and Moss for Brees would be an absolute no-brainer. He'll probably reject it. And what I would look to do if he rejects that, I would tell him, well, I'll give you any wide receiver not named Stephon Diggs with Moss or with Warren, whoever you prefer. So essentially just remove Jacobs, remove Diggs, and tell him he can have any combination of two players that he wants. Brutus says, who should I request back in the Kamara and Godwin for Lamb? He has Judy, Madison, Brian Robinson. He also has Puka if I should pivot from Lamb. No, I think you want Lamb. I think you ask for Alexander Madison in return. What's actually interesting is, I mean, Cam Akers did see a significant step back with his overall role this past week. John says, got both Kyron and Jefferson. It's a 10-team BBR 4-2. Should we hold or sell? We have Ertz, Madison, Kamara, Kirk, Puka, Hawkinson, Roschon, Mixon, Lockett, Logan Thomas, Drew Bubbard, and Rashee Rice. Since we are 4-2, it sometimes is the most boring answer and the worst answer I could get. I know you would way rather hear, let's go make this blockbuster trade. We're 4-2. We can scrape by for now. The last thing I want to do is go out of our way and make a short-term trade that may sacrifice our long-term upside on a 4-2 roster. Kyron Williams may only be missing a week or two here. So I think we actually probably just have to be a little bit patient, my friend. A little bit patient. Now, Iggy Biggie says 12-team, happy BR, 3-3. We have Watson, Jacobs, JT, Roschon, Jeff Wilson Jr., Kupp, Diggs, Chase, Musgrave. Do we sell Kupp for Puka and Mahomes? Roschon, Wilson, or Evans this week? We'll go Evans this week. Wilson's on bye. So with the injury to Deshaun Watson, we don't really know if we have a quarterback here. Trying to think. Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Cup or Puka and Mahomes for this team? Help us in the chat. I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen. Cup or Puka and Mahomes. And as you do that, I'm going to pull up the super chats on the other screen. And at the same time, I'm going to turn off donations for the time being. Okay, Puka, Mahomes, Puka, Puka, Cup, Puka, Cup, Puka. Cup, Puka, Cup, Cup, Puka. It does look like it's split 50-50. Yeah, so I think you can do either or. I mean, I typically say, let's keep the best player in the deal. Let's go ahead and let's keep Cooper Kupp. Like, if you look at his underdog pick him this week, he's at literally like 98.5 total yards. It's like freaking nuts. Okay. Now, let me swing this around. Next question will be coming out from Austin, who says, trade London and Palmer for Smith, or Amari and London for Adams. I would go Amari and London for Adams. We have Amari, Lamb, Puka, London, Palmer. It's a single flex league. Yeah, if you only start 2 wide receivers, I would say let's go ahead and let's make a deal. Let's get the best player in return. And I think I would rather have Devontae Adams there. Okay. Now, Jack says Walker for Allen. Depends on your team, to be honest. Very difficult to tell someone not to trade for Keenan Allen, but also at the same time, very difficult to tell someone to trade away Walker when he's one of the very few running backs we comfortably rely on. Eminem says, would he trade a future first and Jacobs for CMC? Honestly, you're probably overpaying unless it's a 1 quarterback league where it's a first round. I'm a late first as well. Jay says 3-3, 12-team PBR. Good offered CMC for Bijan and Ridley. Other wide receivers are Godwin, Watson, Deontay. Other running backs are JT and Henry. What are your thoughts? I appreciate it. First off, I am very biased. Uncle Lawrence, you know I love my guy Bijan Robinson. Second off, I'll say very fair deal to go out there and get CMC at this price tag. I don't think that you are super strong at wide receiver, but I think it does make sense to get CMC there. Jamie says, will the Chiefs trade for a wide receiver? I don't know if y'all missed out today, ladies and gentlemen, but the Chiefs did trade for Mecole Hardman right now. Luke says, do I trade Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Brian Robinson for Eckler and T. Higgins? DJ Moore to Higgins, not a big move for me, honestly. Garrett Wilson, Brian Robinson for Eckler. Give me Eckler, easily. Tarun says, 14-team at BBR, single flex 2 wide receivers. Trade Gabe Davis, Madison for Puka and Hunt. We have Ridley, St. Brown, Palmer, Judy, Bijan, Montgomery, Keontae, and Jeff Wilson. Give me Puka over Davis easily. I mean, selling a viable running back that we can actually start right now is probably going to be a very difficult task to do. I would say yes to this deal if it was a 10-team league. With it being a 14-team format, probably not. Okay. Next question coming out from, I believe, Chris says, 12-team, full BBR. We have Allen, Smith, Ayuk, Walker, CMC, and Njoku. On the bench, we have Pacheco, Mostert, Dell, Pickens, Zay. Traded away Smith and Mostert for Chase. Was it a good deal? Long-term, yes, because we have just so much freaking talent here. You are absurdly loaded. I would say that on other rosters, it's probably not a good thing to do, but on this team in particular, we had Pacheco, we had Mostert down there on the bench. So if that was the case, it does make a lot of sense for us to go out there and just quote unquote overpay to get a top 3 asset in fantasy with Chase. Vic says Jacobs or Pollard rest of season. I will go Pollard, even though I have way more Jacobs. I'd love to say Jacobs, but I'd be lying to you. Eduardo says, should I trade Madison and Spears for an injured Montgomery? Yes, I would. My other running backs are Mostert, Stevenson, so we can get by for the time being, and we're 5-1. Yeah, let's go get Montgomery. Mark says 12-team, PBR, 4-2, single flex. We have Mahomes, Walker, Taylor, Waddle, Addison, Laporta, Elijah Moore, Hall, Johnston, Charbonnet, Etienne, Kyron, Chuba, JSN, and Jefferson. So JSN, Jefferson, long-term pieces, not giving us much right now, but we are 4-2. I think it's a phenomenal team. Honestly, I'd say the only thing is at this point, you can probably cut Quentin Johnston, and we're going to be playing the waiver wire game for the short term. But in terms of making any deals, really, you're not going to be wanting to make too many trades on a team like this where you're more so inclined to just sit here and wait until we get HN, Kyron, JSN, and Jefferson producing, because we are 4-2, so we have the flexibility to wait for that long term. Now, Lutama coming out saying 3-3, 10-team, full BBR, double flex. Got offered Mixon for Puka. We have Ford, Etienne, TJ Hawkinson, JSN, A.J. Brown, Lockett, and then on the bench, Hopkins, Keontae, Jameson, Deshaun. Could we get more for Puka? He has Pollard and Kenneth Walker. I would definitely ask him, like if we have him if we can text him, say, hey man, will you give me Pollard or Kenneth Walker instead? Worst case scenario, he says no, but if he would say yes, then it's an absolute no-brainer. And then you're saying drop Deshaun, stream a quarterback, and then a potential Kyler pickup. I would definitely think that at this point, you probably have to prefer Kyler over Watson. I'm going to ask the live chat 2 questions here to help you out here, my friend. I would say first, if we could ask him for Pollard or Walker, it's not going to hurt anything. Worst case scenario says no, I'll do that. He's probably going to say no, but you can always try. Second thing is, everybody in the chat, spam who would you rather have on this team. It's a 10-team double flex. Would you rather have Mixon or Puka? And then also, on top of that, who would you rather have between Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray? Mixon or Puka, and then Deshaun Watson or Kyler. Mixon, Puka, Puka, Puka. Puka, Mixon. Puka, Mixon, and Kyler. Puka, Puka, Kyler. So it looks like everybody's going Puka here. And in terms of quarterbacks, everybody's going Kyler as well. It's like the vast majority of people are saying Kyler and Puka, my friend. Okay. Cade says 14-team PBR 2-4. Just traded Javonte, Jamal, Christian Watson, and Achane for Mixon and Najee. What are your thoughts? Javonte versus Mixon. Mixon by a mile. Jamal versus Najee. Give me Najee. Christian Watson, Achane to get it done. We definitely overpaid. I will say that. You overpaid to get this trade done. But at the same time, if this is the best deal you had, you're 2-4, it's a 14-team league, maybe you had to sell HN. I don't love the price point, but obviously it's a crappy situation. Connor says, trade Kelsey or Ramondre Watson for Hall and Ayuk and Nico. Watson to Ayuk, slide upgrade. Ramondre to Njoku, downgrade. Kelsey to Hall, downgrade. I'm going to keep the best player. I'll keep Kelsey. Go Bills says, 2-4, got to win. Etienne has struggled in tough matchups. Etienne's also leading the NFL in touches. Do we start Kamara, Walker, or Saquon, or replace one with Etienne? I am 100% going to be playing Etienne over Saquon Barkley. Uh, 100% I'm going Etienne over Saquon. I don't care if he struggles in tough matchups. I don't care if he averages 3 yards per carry. When the man's getting 20 carries and 5 targets a week, he's a must-start RB. Rich says, 10-team, double flex. Sorry, real quick. I'm going to clean up the chat. If you are spamming the chat over and over again, I'm just going to let you know. If you are copying and pasting the same question, you're going to get muted for the time being. Please do not do that. It ruins the chat for everybody else. Yeah, so we're going to just mute the people copying and pasting right now. And hopefully that helps. Okay. But anyway, 10 TBBR double flex. Trade Amon-Ra, Swift, Taji for Cup, H-N, Javonte. Currently 3-3. We're going from Amon-Ra to Cup. Give me Cup. Swift to H-N. Give me Swift. Taji to Javonte. Give me Javonte. The running backs, Bijan, can afford to wait till H-N. If you really wanted to go get Cup and H-N, you can do it. It's tough for me. Like, I don't necessarily think that like H-N's like the same bucket as Jefferson, where you know 100% fact this guy will be elite when he comes back. Okay. Now, Super Better says CMC, ET, and JT. Start 2. CMC injury news screws me on Monday. Obviously, I am not, I can't tell you this right now. We're going to have to wait. You're for sure starting ETN. And then we're going to wait till Sunday to see the news that we have on CMC. And if we have no news, you may have to start JT. Tingley says, Ayo 3-3, 10 TBBR. Good offer Diggs for my ETN and Devonta Smith. Thoughts / counter offer. We have Kamara, Pacheco, HN, Roshan, Jeff Wilson, Puka, Flowers, Lockett, Dell, Kelsey, Lawrence. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I would be okay if you wanted to go get the move for the best player. In reality, I don't love it. In reality, I would prefer for us to go out there and sell Pacheco or sell HN. I would sell any running back but ETN with Devonta Smith for Stephon Diggs. I just have an affinity for ETN. Have him on a ton of teams. Love the workload. It's hard for me to let him go. Eric says 4-2 PBR, 1 flex. We have Burrow, Henry, Kamara, ETN, Hall, Jefferson, Lamb, Amari, Thielen, Deontay. Terrible bye week. Trade potential ideas. Thank you. No, thank you, my friend. Yeah, we're not going to be making trades for a bye. It sucks that we're missing Jefferson this week. We have no Hall this week. We have no Burrow this week. We have no Thielen this week. We have Deontay coming back in. We have no Lamb this week. We have Deontay kind of coming in to save the day, I guess. In reality, I'm super sorry to give you this answer. I know it's the worst answer I could give you. But the reality of the situation is I think that you are just in a position where you're probably better off sitting on your hands and not really doing much for the time being. I think we have enough depth to get through the bye. If we can pick up Kyler, let's go for it. Tex Ops, always happy to see us. Says, hey, Mason, should I drop Fields for Kyler? We have Purdy to fill in for Fields right now, and I don't want 3 quarterbacks. It's a 6-point passing touchdown league. Flock 'em. Appreciate you, my friend. I'm going to have to hear the live chat out on this one. Both quarterbacks with rushing upside. Both quarterbacks dealing with an injury now, but, I mean, it sounds like Kyler's more guaranteed to come back soon. Everybody spam the chat. Who would you rather have rest of season? Are you going to go Kyler Murray or Justin Fields? Kyler Murray or Justin Fields. And while you're down there in the chat letting me know, we are 2 likes away from hitting 400 likes on this live stream. If you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And Underdog, as of late, has been going freaking nuts with the special pick'ems. Promo code FLOCK will also get you a Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for tomorrow. And a LeBron special pick'em, more than less than half a total points for NBA tip-off as well. So please make sure you take advantage of that. But let's swing this around. Batman Gaming says, Mans is asking for more over Pittman now for the deal. Or the second offer, Walker, Moore, Pittman for Chase, Jones, Lockett. But we don't like that one. So Moore to Lockett downgrade. Pittman to Jones. Give me Jones. Walker to Chase. I think we can make that Chase deal. Walker to Chase, massive upgrade. What's the difference from a points per game perspective going forward, that is, between DJ Moore and Tyler Lockett? Like, just to get baseline expectations, obviously Fields is injured, but DJ Moore's Underdog pick'em's 53.5 receiving yards this week. Now, keep in mind, Tyler Lockett does have a very nice matchup, blah, blah, blah. Logan's at 54.5. Like, what's the real difference between these guys? I'd rather have DJ Moore, but if you're looking at a points per game gap between them, I don't exactly know what that actually looks like. So if you wanted to go get the best player, if you wanted to get Chase, I'm not going to fault you for it. I'm not going to let trading away DJ Moore stop us for it. Now, Ryan says, 10-team at BBR. Should I do any of these trades? Henry, Lamb for Waddle and Swift. Lamb for JT. Lamb for Saquon. Okay. We're definitely not doing Henry and Lamb for Waddle and Swift. Not in a happy BR format. Not doing Lamb. I honestly don't necessarily think we do any of these. If you wanted to make a trade, you trade Lamb for Saquon. It's just the horrendous offense in New York. And I will say, like, when it comes to a Derrick Henry real-life trade, probably can only be good for him, right? It's hard to find too many worse offensive lines and worse offenses overall. Okay. Now, Zachary says 3-3 trade MT Dobbs for Higgins. Yes, I would. Dobbs has no value for me at this point. Jason, always happy to see us, says 5-1, crushing it. 12-team Superflex, 3 receivers. We have Hurts, Purdy, Stroud, St. Brown, Lamb, Metcalf, Evans, Etienne, Montgomery, Kamara, H.N. Boss, Charbonnet, Mitchell, Mayer. Should we be looking to upgrade, and would you trade any of the quarterbacks? I'm sorry if I just did a nasty face. I'm sorry if I sound gross. I wasn't planning on it, but this morning I went out and ran a marathon. It was our second marathon in the past 12 days. And it was like my third marathon ever. Like, I literally never do them, but I've been feeling spontaneous and trying to push ourselves lately. So I'm just wrecked. Like, my throat hurts so bad. But Superflex, no, we're probably going to be keeping the QBs. We have the wide receiver depth where if you wanted to sell DK Metcalf and like Kamara and go get like a stud running back, you can. Or also we have the running back wide receiver depth. If you wanted to sell like DK Metcalf and Michael Mayer, if we can somehow get to like Hawkinson or Andrews, I'd really like that as well. Okay. James says Jacobs for JT and Thielen in an 8-team league. Diggs, DK, Kirk. So the thing is, like in an 8-team league, I typically just want the best player in the deal. But I think, honestly, you're getting enough value here. Knowing what you could get for Adam Thielen, you probably do have to go ahead and make the deal. I think then at that point, we're looking to sell a wide receiver and Dallas Goedert, go get a tight end upgrade. And Hoga Morans, we are playoff bound. Let me ask every college football fan right now. I was talking to a friend about this. I was talking to him about this before we lost against OU. And I said, Texas loses one game. I said if we had like a random loss to like Texas Tech or something, we weren't making the college football playoffs. I think the instance where we do make it is a loss to OU where we still went out and win the Big 12 and beat OU at the end of the year. But if you, college football fan, if the Texas Longhorns win out from here and beat OU in the Big 12 championship, are we a top 4 team and are we going to the playoffs? Let me know. Okay. Logan says, and I'm not saying should they deserve it or not. The answer, the question is, do they actually make it? Logan says, full BBR, Olave and Higgins or DK and Flowers. Olave over DK, Flowers, Higgins. 99% of people go Flowers. I think it's close. I think it's up to you. Fair deal. Okay, Joe says 8-team happy BR. A single flex. 5-1 record. Should we trade Adams and Flowers or Adams and Myers for Diggs? 8-team single flex league? Hell yes. I would prefer to sell Myers than Flowers. Also, should we start Robinson over Taylor? Bijan Robinson, yes. Brian Robinson, no. And actually, it's close. A good matchup this week. Actually, against the Giants, I think you probably have a higher floor with Brian Robinson, higher ceiling with JT. But yeah, in an 8-team league, for sure, go out there and get the best player in that deal. Anthony says 4-2, 12-team PBR format. where we have Herbert, Madison, Aaron Jones, Mixon, Diggs, Adams, Pittman, Laporta, Pitts, Addison, Dillon, McKinnon, Charbonnet, Pittman, Mixon for an upgrade or any other ideas. You have the depth where you could go out there and you could make that trade if you really wanted to. What I possibly would do is I would take the guy that's going to be producing a ton right now and be perceived to continue to increase his role, but I think maybe it's not guaranteed. Like if you wanted to send Addison and Madison or Addison and Mixon and go get a running back upgrade that way, I think that can make a lot of sense because if you're not even starting Addison right now when you have no Justin Jefferson in this offense, I don't know if we're ever really starting him, right? And see, he's good enough to help someone else's team. Jesus says start Kareem Hunt or Craig Reynolds, non-PPR 10-team 1 flex. Did I read this correctly that Craig Reynolds dealing with a toe and hamstring injury and didn't practice today? If Craig Reynolds does play, we go Reynolds over Hunt. But, I mean, if I read that correctly, Craig Reynolds may not play. Now, Morph says 12-team PPR double flex, trade Myers and Godwin for Devonta Smith. Double flex format, I would say probably not. If it was a 10-team, 2 wide receiver single flex, we would send it. 12-team double flex, not until we get through the buys. K-Dub says, hey, what's good, Flock? 12-team PPR, we have Love, Pollard, Hunt, Keenan, Devonta Smith, Mayer, Montgomery, Elijah, Jeff Wilson, Watson, Reynolds, and McCole. Who can we trade? First off, cut McCole Hardman. We've seen McCole Hardman since 2019. I mean, hell, the majority of his time in KC's never done anything. Cut McCole Hardman. I think you can honestly maybe cut Josh Reynolds as well, potentially. The thing is, I would love to trade for a quarterback upgrade, but can we afford one? Like our starting lineup, we're starting Pollard. And I don't even know who I run. Maybe Hunt with a Montgomery injury. We have Keenan Smith, wide receiver. For the flex, we're going to go Christian Watson. But beyond that, like we have no expendable assets at all here, my friend. So I'm sorry. I think we would drop McCole Hardman for sure. Pick up someone else off waivers. But in terms of going through and making a trade, I don't necessarily see one that makes a lot of sense for us. I think we're more so going to be sitting on our hands and waiting until we get Montgomery back. Caleb says, Mostert for Jonathan Taylor. We have Barkley, Brian Robinson, James Cook, Breece Hall. Also, no number 1 receiver. Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Mostert or Jonathan Taylor? Obviously, in the short term, it is Mostert by a mile. But long term, who would you rather have here? Are you going to be going with Mostert or JT, ladies and gentlemen? JT. Taylor. Mostert, Taylor. Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check. I was thinking Taylor long term, obviously. Now I'm going to reiterate. Obviously, Mostert in the short term. I just didn't want to be the only guy saying it. So, yeah, I guess we can say JT now. Now, I'm says Burrow, Nico, or Madre, or James Cook for Herbert, Swift, or Walker. So, Burrow to Herbert. Honestly, lateral move coming out of the bye week. Burrow should maybe be good to go with Higgins. Nico and Ramadre for Swift or Walker. Massive upgrade at running back. We have Bijan, Javonte, Roshan, Warren, Puka, Lamb, Godwin. Never just roll over and take an L just because we have a lot of players on bye. I would say that this is a deal that is kind of a lateral move, and I think maybe we could be winning this deal, right? We could be winning this deal. I don't know for sure. I think it's a fair one, but because it's a fair deal where I think we would maybe rather have it regardless of our bye week situation, if it does help us out with the bye, we can use that as a tiebreaker and get it done. Sam says 10 DPBR got offered Metcalf or Olave. I would rather have Olave over Metcalf, my friend. Augustin says 12 DPBR 2 and 4. We have Tua, Kamara, Bijan, Pittman, Amari, Schultz, Puka. And then on the bench, Hunt, Pierce, McLaurin, Smith, Dell. Just traded Puka and Hunt for Jonathan Taylor and Higgins and any more moves. Great trade. Great trade. 2 and 4. I would say like the only thing that we're going to be potentially looking to do is if you could take like Tank Dell and go send him potentially with Alvin Kamara and go get a long-term running back upgrade, I think that could be interesting. Kamara has been absolutely crushing it as of late off of volume, which is what you love to see. But at the same time, if you have Jamal coming back in, that volume may take a considerable hit, particularly in the red zone. Now, Rigoberto says 4 and 2, full BBR league, single flex. We have Stafford, Adams, Kirk, CMC, Eckler, Laporta, Hall. On the bench, we have Downs, Sutton, Jameson. Got offered A.J. Brown for Christian Kirk, Breece Hall. What are your thoughts? I prefer to trade Adams. I think if this is the deal, you have to keep A.J. Brown. I think that Adams is someone that you're honestly probably not going to be selling just because people are not going to view him as that mid-wide receiver 1 anymore. I mean, people got mad at us for ranking him like wide receiver 7 in a week where you were just absolutely decimated with bye weeks and injuries. So I would for sure trade Adams for Kirk and Hall. He's probably going to reject it. And A.J. Brown for Kirk and Hall, specifically in a single flex league, keep the best player, keep A.J. Brown. Okay, Jacob says 5 and 1, first place, 10-team non-PBR. Trade Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor for Eckler, Puka. Jefferson to Eckler, give me Eckler. JT to Puka, give me JT. Or for Ayuk and Bijan. Running backs are Pollard, Etienne, JT. Wide receivers are weak, besides from Tyreek, Jefferson. 3 wide receivers, no flex. Non-PBR format, let's go out there. Actually, no. Because the issue is what value, where's the primary value add that you were getting from Austin Eckler and Bijan Robinson? The primary value add that you have is going to be with what they get in terms of their targets. So honestly, I don't know if we would, it's tough. I don't know if those are the running backs we're trading for in a non-PPR league. You can go get Bijan if you really wanted. But the thing is, like, the reason I love Bijan Robinson is this is the RB2, right? The RB2 in targets this season. Dave says, trying to get an elite running back, need to trade one of these 4. Full BBR, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, St. Brown, Jamar Chase. If you send A.J. Brown to get Bijan Robinson, get Austin Eckler in a full BBR format, I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and let's do it. Or I do it with Keenan, I do it with St. Brown, I do it with honestly any wide receiver not named Chase. And Kara says trade Kelsey Pittman for Tyreek where we have Laporta. If you have Laporta, yeah, let's go get Tyreek Hill. Jeb says sent Jefferson for Adams. Will Jefferson play again? Jefferson most likely will be playing again. I think you probably didn't get enough value there. I understand why you did it though, and it is okay. It is okay. Now, let me refresh this so we can keep on bringing these up. J-Mac, our next question. And, oh, we can actually turn Super Chats back on. But, so our next question coming out from J-Mac says, should we trade Montgomery, Godwin for White and Hollywood? It's a 12-team PBR league where we have Love, Ridley, Bijan, Watson, Javonte, Dell, Hogginson, Myers, Fields, H.N., Roshan, Jameson. So the issue with the team is we are just decimated where we have the Fields injury. We have the H.N. injury on top of that. So I understand the thought process here. You're just not getting nearly enough value. Like, I understand the thought process, but I think you need to try to swing a little more value here. Dave says, who can I get for Derrick Henry at this point? Honestly, nobody's really trading for Derrick Henry at this moment. I don't think you're going to get anything. I think you'd be much better holding on to Henry and seeing if he gets dealt somewhere. Like if you can sell Derrick Henry and like a depth wide receiver like Jameson Williams and go get Kenneth Walker, go do it. But I don't think you can. Now, Sam says, PBR, Watson's my quarterback. We have trade Olave, Aaron Jones, Addison, Watson for Devontae Adams and Tua. So Watson to Tua upgrade. Olave to Adams upgrade. We're paying Aaron Jones, Addison to get it done. We have Chase, Allen, Olave, Nico. Running backs are Tony Montgomery, James Cook, and Aaron Jones. I'd way rather trade James Cook than Aaron Jones if we could do that. And I think you possibly have this as an interesting move if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Any deeper, I think it would be a little bit tougher. Okay, but let me just refresh this. I'm sorry. I know we're having to do this often, but it's because we're at the very top of these. And as I do this, hit that like button if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, looks like we are at, have we hit 500 likes in the stream? Looks like we're about to hit 500 likes on this live stream. So if you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And Underdog has been going crazy as of late with their special pick'ems. You have a Derek Carr special pick'em tomorrow if you're new to Underdog, more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, a LeBron special pick'em, more than less than half a total point for NBA kickoff as well. So, not NBA kickoff, NBA tip-off. I apologize. But nonetheless, make sure you are taking advantage of that. Promo code FLOCK, give you all that. Link in the comment section and description. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Marty says, Andrews for Tua, Waller, and Zay. It's a full BBR league where we're 2 and 4. We have Howell, Swift, Mixon, Keenan, Jamar, Pittman, Jacoby, James Conner, Gabe Davis. No backup tight end. Tua over Howell's a significant upgrade. We don't even start Zay Flowers on this team, possibly. It's an okay deal. You can make it if you want. It's not like I love it, though, my friend. It's not like I love it. Okay. Brent says, need one. Goff or Sam Howell. We're going to go Goff. And DST question, the Seahawks or the Packers? We will go with the Seahawks. I mean, they're 8-point favorites in this game against Arizona. Thanks, Mason. Always can rely on your info. No, thank you so much, my man, for being a member of the flock. And then Eric says, running backs are Bijan, Kyron, Hunt, Warren. Who should we trade Kyron for? I mean, if you could send Kyron in a depth wide receiver, if you needed a wide receiver production right now, and go get someone like Kenneth Walker, like the Kenneth Walker range, I would really like making that move, my friend. But I think we should be able to swing this back to the other side. Or no, first question comes from Pew Pew over there. So we got a couple more to do here. So Anthony says 5-1, Jefferson injured. Need a running back upgrade. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. We have Hurts, Robinson, Ford, Hall, Lamb, Ridley, Pittman, Pickens, Laporta, Thielen. Have a tough week with buys and injuries. So, I mean, yeah, long-term, I mean, if that's Bijan, you're fine with Bijan and Hall. If that's Brian Robinson, then I definitely think, okay, let's probably go through and let's probably take like George Pickens and Brian Robinson and go get a running back upgrade. Or Adam Thielen and Jerome Ford and go get a running back upgrade that way. I think that would make a lot of sense just because we are loaded at wide receiver. And I mean, you only have 1 flex spot there. Okay, but Pew Pew coming out with our question saying 5-1 full BBR where we have Lawrence, Etienne, Stevenson, Kupp, Diggs, Ingram. Double flex, Puka, Christian Watson. And then on the bench, we have Roshan, Pollard, Osborne, JSN, Fields, Achane. Looking to upgrade quarterback, who should we try to go for? Like in reality, what could we do? The issue is this is a double flex format where we have JSN not productive yet, where we also already have Devon Achane on the IR. So honestly, I hate to give you this answer, and I know it's the worst answer we could give you. I think that when you're dealing with these injuries, especially in a league where depth requires a little bit, depth's a little bit harder to come by. I don't necessarily know if we can afford a quarterback upgrade right this second, even if it would make a lot of sense for us in the long term. I think we probably have to be waiting for a few of these names to actually come back and be healthy for us. Okay. Now, it's Ricky coming out saying, Puka for who? James Cook for who? Your option. I'm 3-3. We're going to keep Puka at this point, my friend. I was going through and selling Puka a few weeks back, but now his value is just much higher than it was. Much lower than it was. And I think we're going to be holding. And then if you are selling James Cook's had his value really decline as well. If you wanted to send like James Cook and a depth wide receiver, you definitely have to include someone else with him. Like James Cook and someone in like the Jamison Williams range. And go get, say, like Joe Mixon, just get the volume, go for it. Frank says start one for running back 2, Najee, Hunt, Reynolds, and Algier. It's disgusting, but we probably got to go Najee. Prohibit says trade DJ Moore and Amari for Keenan Allen. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, we can do it. If it's like a really shallow format, then sure. Cole, always happy to see us, says 10-team PPR, 3-3. We have Herbert, Bijan, James Cook, Jamar Chase, Keenan, Lamb, Kelsey. Lockett, Flowers, Higgins, JT, Deontay. Any trade ideas? Non-quarterback ideas. You have so much depth here having Lockett, Zay Flowers, and Deontay all on the bench. Like at this point, you probably want to go through and you probably want to take one of these depth receivers, particularly someone that someone's actually excited about. Such as, say, Flowers. Like you're not going to be selling Lockett. Like nobody wants to buy Lockett, of course. But if you could send, say, Flowers and James Cook and then go out there and get a player in the Kenneth Walker range, I think we would look to do that there. When we just have that kind of wide receiver depth. But phenomenal team. Luigi coming out saying 3-3, 10-team PBR, single flex. We have Lawrence, Bijan, Etienne, Watson, Godwin, Eckler, Jonnu. And then on the bench, we have JT, Higgins, Stroud, Tank, Kenneth Walker, Javonte, Jameson, Dalton Kincaid. General advice and possible trades. Really tough situation to be in, having the Lawrence injury and the Stroud bye week at the same time. But I would say with this team, we are strong enough. We have a good enough team where if you wanted to go out there, if you wanted to send maybe like Javonte Williams and Jonnu Smith together in a package, or Javonte and Dalton Kincaid, and go get a viable tight end in a 10-team single flex format. Typically, whenever we have an extremely strong roster like this, I do think that it makes a lot of sense for us to go and get that tight end upgrade. Ethan says, which defense? Seahawks, Vegas, Bucks, Jags, or Packers? We're going to be going with the Seahawks defense this week. I think the Seahawks defense will be one of the better plays of the week. Robles says, have BBR trade Kupp and Montgomery for Olave and Eckler. Kupp to Eckler. Give me Eckler since he's through his bye. Montgomery to Olave. Up to you. It's a fair deal and it's up to you. Kojin says, trade Pollard for who? I'd rather not trade Pollard. If we could trade him for Bijan, I would do that. Saram says 2-4, 12-team PBR shallow. We have Hurts, Hall, Javonte, Achane, Hunt, Gibson, Gainwell. AJ Brown, Hopkins, Dobbs, JSN, Gabe, Jameson, Kelsey. Considering 2-4, week 10 bye. Okay, not really going to be concerned too much with our bye weeks at this point, my friend. I do think if we could go out there and upgrade, though, for the short term, it would make a lot of sense. If you are 2-4, this is the point where we're saying, okay, maybe the long-term upside's not as important as just getting points in this starting lineup right this second. So if you could go out there, if you could trade, say, Devon Achane and Jameson Williams and go get a running back that would be viable and would actually be able to help us out right this second, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I think that would. Jay says traded Burrow, Higgins for Derrick Henry to a team that needed a quarterback. Burrow was our backup. We have Herbert. Basically saw it as Higgins for Henry. If you view it as that, then it's obviously a win. But the issue is, you could also go and get a bunch of different things with Burrow. So it's not necessarily I mean, painting it in a fair picture. I don't know, my friend. I don't know. I think I would assume because of the Fields and Richardson injuries, we could have maybe squeezed a little more value out of him. Andrew says Pittman or Devonta Smith rest of season. Super, super close. I would say from a trade value perspective, most people would rather have Pittman, but I really do like Smith. I think it's up to you. John says 14-team Happy BR. We have Herbert, Etienne, JT Moore, Olave, Andrews, HN, Godwin, Downs. Do I need to upgrade anywhere in how, or do we sit tight? I'm 4-2. Thanks. So thank you, my friend. Depth's going to matter a little bit more with this team. Having no Devon HN is going to be very difficult. So we have an extremely strong roster where we have the flexibility where we don't need to go out there and sell Devon HN like we'd be doing on a 2-4 team that really needs some points in the starting lineup right now. So I think we can afford to be a little bit more patient with this roster. I don't necessarily think that we have to go out there and make any moves at this point outside of just being patient because you have such a strong team here. Ryan says we have Kirk, Jordan Addison, Amari, CMC, Eckler, Dallas Goedert, James Cook. On the bench, we have Kyron, Debo, Romeo Doubs, and Jamison Williams. So tough having the Kyron and Debo injuries, but I mean, the starting lineup's fine if CMC plays. I would say because we're dealing with 3 injuries at this point, if you really wanted to go out of your way and possibly sell Kyron Williams, it could make some sense here, depending on the price. You don't need to just sell Kyron for just anything, but if you could get a good price for Kyron Williams there. Kidlow straight away, Smith for Olave. Should we pair with the running back? Definitely not going to pay like a bunch of... I'm not going to be sending a lot of value on top of one of these wide receivers to go to one or the other. I'd probably rather have Olave over Smith, but I do think that they're close. Now, Dale D'Antoni says traded Moss and Dell for Higgins. How did I do? Appreciate you, my man. And Dell, in my mind, really doesn't have much value at all. It's like, would you rather have Moss or Higgins? Long term, I'd rather have Higgins, but I know there's a lot of people in the chat that would rather have Moss. I think it depends on your team. Given says I'm 4-2, 12-team PBR, 3 receivers, 1 flex. I'm starting Purdy, Diggs, Smith, Addison, JT, Eckler, Ingram, Hollywood. What trades should we be looking to upgrade? Three wide receiver, 1 flex. The depth's going to matter a little bit more. I would say if it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, then it's going to be a very easy spot to go out there and send one of these receivers with Brock Purdy to go get a quality quarterback upgrade. But with these league settings in particular, I think it's a great build. And the only thing that I'd say is let's go pick up another quarterback off the waiver wire. That way we can play the matchups between 2 guys, right? That way we can get a few guys, but I'm sorry. Cooper says PBR. I'm sorry. Pick up another quarterback, play the matchups between the 2. I know I'm being an idiot. Cooper says PBR double flex, trade Puka, Garrett Wilson for Stephon Diggs, or Mixon and Evans for ETN and a filler. I might rather do the second one. I do both. I would love both. Especially when we're loaded at this with this team. Let's do both, my man. Let's do both and work like a madman the waiver wire to backfill, that lack of depth. And at that point, work for what you want. Always happy to see you, my man. And love the profile pick. Work harder. Try to work as, I know, obviously you're not speaking to me. I'll just say as a quick side note. I believe that you can do literally anything you'd ever want with hard work. So love it, my man. Love it. But 6-0, 12-team at BBR. Send Allen, Hawkinson, HN for Mahomes and Kelsey. Allen to Mahomes, lateral move. Hawkinson, HN for Kelsey. At this point with the HN injury, give me Kelsey. But the thing is, long term, when HN comes back. I don't know. We have Mixon, Montgomery, Warren, Hill, Keenan, Flowers, Gabe. Mahomes owner says no HN, no deal. Because we are 6-0, I think it's a very difficult question to answer, and I do think that it's up to you. A lot of other spots, I would say it would be easy and go get Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So for 6-0, you could afford to wait until we get Devon Achane back in, though, which is why it makes it a little bit tougher. But David says, Fields, Love, Barkley, JT Ford, AJ Brown, Adams, Olave, Pittman. And then on the bench, we have Pollard, Hockenson, Lockett, Stroud, Palmer, Dobbs, Algier, Achane. Suggestions for a quarterback upgrade. A great team. I mean, if we can go out there, if we could send maybe like Michael Pittman, because the thing is, I'm not going to be able to tell you to go through and sell Lockett, right? Nobody's going to be excited to buy Lockett. So you would have to sell a wide receiver that would be exciting. I think the exciting wide receiver to send off from this team to get that quarterback upgrade that fundamentally is not going to hurt the roster too much with the expected points per game output would be Michael Pittman here. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 like away from hitting 600 likes on this live stream. If you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you play fantasy football, we have live streamed literally every single day since 2024. And as always, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, Underdog has been crazy with the pick'ems as of late. They have a Derek Carr special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, a site-wide special pick'em. LeBron James more than less than half a point for NBA tip-off. So please make sure you take advantage of that with promo code FLOCK, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Aru says traded Mahomes, Pittman, and Ramondre for Herbert and Adams. So downgraded quarterback to upgrade at wide receiver. It's a 10-team PBR 3-3. The team now is Herbert, Eckler, Kamara, Amon-Ra, Keenan. So essentially we went all in on the Chargers offense. I think it makes sense to go in and get that Chargers stack and just make that one consolidated bet that the Chargers will be a top 5 offense in the NFL. And if that does happen, this is a phenomenal team. I will say I think we probably overpaid just a bit, even if I do like buying low on Adams. Now, Bruce Gaming says 14-team BBR. Receive Aaron Jones and Myers. Give up Jacobs and Pickens. What are your thoughts? We have Jacobs, Eckler, Najee, Foreman, Kupp, DK. Jacobs to Aaron Jones, massive downgrade. Pickens to Myers, who cares? I am going to go Jacob. I'm going to keep the Jacob side, even if Aaron Jones is an intriguing buy low candidate. I mean, Josh Jacobs right now is the #1 running back in the NFL in targets. Like, the volume is just absurd in what Jacobs has had. Okay. Batman says, last deal, had BBR, I trade Walker, Spears, DJ Pittman. So Spears maybe is appealing at this point whenever you have the Henry rumors. Okay. So we downgrade from Spears to Singletary. We downgrade from DJ Moore to Lockett, not the end of the world. We send Walker and Pittman for Jamar Chase and Aaron Jones. The core of this deal I like. But as we add in more and more additional value and we take on more and more downgrades through the rest of the roster, the less excited I am about this trade. So honestly, it is up to you, but I mean, like if we're giving up this much, I don't necessarily know if we're too excited for it. I don't know if we should ever be canceling a deal because of Tajee Spears, though, which is kind of the issue. Now, Viber Stream says, look here, buddy, old pal. I get Bijan and Adams for Kelce and Jefferson. What are your thoughts? Be honest. My honest thoughts are Hoka Morans. You know I am very biased. Okay. Kelce, Bijan. Give me Bijan, but I am very biased, like I said. Adams for Jefferson. Give me Jefferson, but if you were 2-4, if you are 2-4, if you are 1-5, it's easy to go with the Bijan side. If you are 5-1, if you are 6-0, it's easy to go with the Jefferson side. So to be honest with you, I think it's a fair deal. While I could be wrong because, like I said, I am very biased. Hook 'em horns. I don't know. Now, Combat Cash Club says, if I was to trade Smith, what running back should I be looking for? I hate to give you this answer, right? But my man, you can't sell Smith. If you're selling Smith right now, you are selling at the ultimate loss. If you could sell Smith and go get Taylor, do it. In reality, you probably can't. If you really wanted a different running back, if you wanted to go get Mixon, if you wanted to go get Aaron Jones, if you wanted to go get Kamara, the thing is with Smith, he's still a great talent. He's still in an elite offense. He's still seeing volume. He had 11 targets last week. So I think he will be much better. Now, Dano says James Cook, Puka, Miles Sanders for Aaron Jones and Higgins. James Cook to Aaron Jones, give me Jones. Puka to Higgins, give me Puka. We're paying Sanders for free. I don't know. I mean, I think it's fair and it's up to you. I just don't like selling low on Puka at this point. I mean, if you were going to sell Puka, we should have done it a few weeks back. Gabriel says, hey, brother, can we ask the chat who we'd rather have rest of season? Tyreek and Moore or Cup and Lamb? Can everybody please spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season? Tyreek and Moore or Cooper Kupp and CeeDee Lamb? I'd definitely rather have Tyreek over Kupp. I would rather have Lamb over Moore. That's just me. But let me know in the live chat, what side are you going there? The Chickapole says 2 and 4, giving Pickens for Higgins. What are your thoughts? I would rather have Higgins. I think Higgins is in a much better offense long term. Zachary says 10-team at BBR single flex, Smith for Wilson. Ooh. I think I'd probably rather have Smith. I know people are going to hate to hear it. I just think I think he's in an elite offense. I think he's in a much better offense, and he's still getting volume. I don't think the player's getting worse in year 3. I don't have any offensive concerns. And he's still seeing volume. So, I mean, those are the boxes we look for, right? Praying Mantis says, should I offer DK and Lamb for Tyreek? Oh, I'd go get Tyreek there. Where we have Smith, Higgins, Watson, Palmer. Yeah, so we have plenty of depth. And what do you think about Keaton Mitchell? He's the fastest running back in Baltimore. If it was as easy as just drafting the fastest player, I mean, fantasy football wouldn't be a game. So, personally, I have seen way too much hype around Keaton Mitchell. Let's go through the hypotheticals of Keaton Mitchell. Let's assume he has a role in this offense. That is awesome. That is a win for Keaton Mitchell from a career perspective. If you look at his profile, this is a running back with 0 pedigree coming into the NFL. If he's getting any role in an offense, that is great. You love to see it. So if he gets to that mark, is he viable in fantasy? Hell no. You need more. Let's go. Okay, what if he turns into the running back 1 in Baltimore? Well, he weighs 179 pounds. So even if he's the running back 1, do we think that he'll be the only guy used? Hell no. It's going to be a running back by committee regardless. So ask yourself, do you think Keaton Mitchell with a 50% workload, 50% of the Baltimore backfield when nobody's viable right now, when this is probably just a 3-man running back by committee? Do you think that is someone that's worth getting? Do you think that's someone that's going to make a difference? I don't think so. I think Keaton Mitchell, to make a difference in Baltimore, would have to see 65, 70% of his backfield. The odds are truly stacked against him, while at the same time, he has such a small frame that historically speaking, we never see running backs be able to do it at that size. But I am also the guy that said Puka was not super exciting because the odds were stacked against Puka. So, I mean, I'll take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I mean, I'm just a hater out here, but I don't think Keaton Mitchell is interesting. Louis Bosey coming out saying, happy BR 4-2. And like, I want to reiterate, I think Keaton Mitchell could be the RB1 in Baltimore. But the thing is, even if he overcomes those odds and he turns into RB1 in Baltimore, super happy for him. That's awesome. He still probably won't be viable in fantasy, you know? But Louis says, happy BR 4-2. Tua, Jacobs, Ramondre, Hill, AJ Brown, Ingram, London. Algier, Gibson, Rasheed, Akers, Holder, Seller, Ramondre, Jacobs. Any suggestions? Thank you. No, thank you. I definitely think we're going to be holding Jacobs. If you could sell Ramondre, we would. In reality, you're probably not going to be able to. And the issue is, if you were going to sell Ramondre, you'd have to try to be a little bit more like backdoor about it. You have to be a little sneaky about it. We're not going to be able to sell Ramondre straight up for a player. But so if we were to say, let's go package a depth wide receiver with Ramondre, what depth wide receiver on this team are people excited about? I mean, on our bench, our best player is Tyler Algier, you know, so we don't really have enough depth to get a deal done, at least in my mind. Manny says Andrews and Walker for Jones, Kelsey, or Andrews for Chase. Oh, I trade Mark Andrews for Jamar Chase in a heartbeat. Andrews, Walker for Jones, Kelsey. We can kind of go back and forth. You can make an argument one way or another. I mean, Mark Andrews for Jamar Chase, there's no argument to be had. It's Jamar Chase by a mile. Colton says, need help, 2-4, 12-team PBR single flex. We have Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, JT, Swift, Gibbs, Roshan, Chase, Higgins, Amon-Ra, Judy, JSN. Frustrated with the team, any moves. We're 2-4. We need to be thinking about points this week rather than long term. So all I would say is when we have Jalen Hurts, and obviously you haven't been able to do it up until this point, but possibly we could now, is if you wanted to go out there and if you wanted to see if we could package together Kyler Murray and one of these other pieces and go get an upgrade in the starting lineup right now, like sell, say, Kyler Murray and Jerry Jeudy and go get a wide receiver that you're very confident will make a difference in the flex, I think that'd be something we look to do, my friend. Okay. Now let's find our next question. This one coming out from Mo, I believe. We're going to have to actually swing this back to the other page, so give me a second. And as we do this, I'll remind you, less than 9% of y'all have hit that like button. Go down there and drop a like on this live stream if you have not done so already. I mean, we have live streamed every single day since April and not taking a day off until 2024, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how many people on the planet are doing that, let alone just fantasy football. Fantasy football, we're the only people, but maybe there are a couple other streamers doing it. But please let me know who. But Mo says, Amari or DJ Moore at the flex. Very tough. If you looked at my wide receiver rankings this week, I mean, DJ Moore 16, Amari 20. The issue is we don't know if Watson's good. If Watson's good to go, we'll play Amari over Moore. And then Robinson or Roshan. We'll go Brian Robinson. Toxic Laura says 10-team BBR traded Mahomes in London for Goff and Swift. Needed a running back. We have Pollard RB1, Moss as my RB2 after injuries, and London was on the bench. I understand the thought process. We probably overpaid, to be honest with you. I mean, I think I would rather have Mahomes over Goff and Swift. I understand why we were interested in making the trade. I've tried to get a little more value in return. Johnny says 4-2, 12-team non-BBR single flex. We have Tua, Eckler, Walker, Watson, Addison, Hawkinson, Cook, Mixon, Hopkins, Sutton, Hunt, Rasheed, incoming trades, AJ Brown for Mixon and Watson. Who could I trade Diggs or Hill or keep? Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Okay. Non-PBR format, we're very happy to build around guys like Kenneth Walker. the running back's going to be worth more in that non-PPR format than they would be in that full PPR league. With that being said, Mixon and Watson for A.J. Brown still a very fair deal. I would just say, I mean, the only really expendable pieces that we have on this team would be that like Mixon and Watson package. And I would definitely trade them for Tyreek Hill, a no-brainer even in a non-PPR league. I would trade them for Stephon Diggs as a no-brainer in a non-PPR format. A.J. Brown is a little bit tougher. I would make the deal for A.J. Brown in a full PPR league. I just want to be a little bit hesitant in selling running backs in this scoring in particular. Patrick says 12-team PPR 5-1. We have Burrow, Kamara, Montgomery, Diggs, Hill, Andrews. I traded for Andrews 2 weeks ago. Would you flip Andrews plus Kamara for CMC? CMC owner said he'd accept the deal. We have Kittle on the bench. I would. A 5-1 team where we are just thinking long term. I mean, also you got to think about Kamara. I mean, if you get Jamal back in, the volume may look a little bit different than what it does now. Now, Backroad coming out saying 12-team full PPR 3-3 single flex. We have Lawrence, CMC, Bijan, Aaron Jones, T. Higgins, Olave, Hopkins, Logan Thomas. Just traded Kenneth Walker and Curtis Samuel for Aaron Jones and Davante Adams. Walker to Aaron Jones, downgrade, but Curtis Samuel to Davante Adams, such a massive upgrade, great deal. I mean, 3-3, we need a nice balance of production for the short term and long term. I think we already have that. I mean, the only thing I'd say is if we could sell like Hopkins and Logan Thomas after the bye week. Actually, no, for a second, I thought we had Higgins. Never mind. I would look to do this now. If we can sell like Hopkins, Logan Thomas, and go get a tight end upgrade, then sure, let's do that. But much easier said than done. I mean, we had Hopkins as that sell-high guy last week. I think this week you're going to have a hard time finding that price that you like. Now, Gary says, 12-team PPR, get Jones, T, give Bijan wings up. I don't know what wings are, but we're definitely going to go Bijan Robinson there, my friend. Well, what team is wings up for? Steven says, pick one. Week 7 running back rankings or a marathon. I will tell you, I already flexed on y'all earlier in the live stream. I'll flex again because you set us up. We've ran 2 marathons over the past 12 days. I'm not a runner. It's not like I do this normally. I mean, I've ran 1 marathon ever before that in my life. The last organized race, the only organized race I've really ever done was like a turkey trot, like 5K with my mom when I was like 10. But we've done 2 marathons the past 12 days. 1 this morning. Or, I don't know, midday. We got back, recorded a couple of videos. But it was still easier than the week 7 running back rankings. Like the week 7 running back rankings, I really didn't want to put out the video just because I know they're going to be so bad because I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about when ranking guys like Roshan Johnson versus Craig Reynolds, Keontae Ingram versus Salvin Ahmed, like Kareem Hunt versus Deonta Foreman, where I was like, this is just going to be the most embarrassing thing that I've done in a very long time. Like, I didn't even want to put out those week 7 running back rankings just because it's like, this is so gross. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Like, how do you rank Zach Evans this week? Kojin says 10-team PPR 4-2. We have Hurts, Bijan, Pollard, Keenan, Adams, Andrews, Ridley. And then on the bench, we have Watson, Spears, Roshan, London. Phenomenal team. I mean, if we are looking at this team, if we have Christian Watson, Spears, Roshan, London, we do have a considerable amount of depth here where I would say if you could go out there and sell, I mean, Drake London and one of these depth pieces and go get an upgrade in the starting lineup, let's do it. But in reality, who do we sell? We have 2 running back ones, 2 wide receiver ones, the elite quarterback, the elite tight ends. I mean, Ridley has his floor, I mean, his price down in the basement right now. We're not really looking to sell Ridley. So I think it's a phenomenal team, my friend. I don't really see that, I mean, too many moves we could look to make. Gingerbread Man says, people are getting upset in my league. Should this get vetoed? Okay, I am on the side of 99% of deals should not get vetoed. The HN guys 0-6 and the Addison guys in second place. Devon HN for Jordan Addison. I would be upset if I was in your league as well because the guy that's in second place getting HN obviously is going to be set up for the long term. However, with that being said, the 0-6 guy probably needed to sell Devon HN to try to stay competitive right now. Jordan Addison is a producing piece right now. Is this a bad trade? Sure. Is this vetoable? No, it is not. You can clearly make an argument for both sides. And the only time a trade's vetoable is if it's clear collusion, which this is not. Max says, PBR drop Keontae for Julio Jones. No, please do not drop Julio. I mean, do not pick up Julio Jones. Fine if you wanted to drop Keontae. I'm just not wasting a raw spot on Julio. Sam says, PBR got offered Lamar, Jacobs, DJ Moore for Chase and Aaron Jones. Quarterbacks, Watson. Wide receivers are Chase, Keenan, Olave, Nico, Addison. Running back, Pollard, Montgomery, and James Cook. Okay. Would I rather have Chase or Lamar and DJ Moore? Give me Chase. Aaron Jones versus Josh Jacobs. Give me Josh Jacobs. Obviously, we needed a quarterback upgrade, so I think it's a fair deal if you want to make it. But typically, if it's a fair deal, I'm just going to keep the best player, which I do think is Jamar Chase. Burrow may be healthy coming out of the bye, and this Bengals offense may be humming. Now, Luke says 10-team, 3 wide receiver, single flex, PPR, 2 and 4. We have Allen, CMC, Gibbs, Warren, Evans, Roshan, Spears, Lamb, Hopkins, Deontay, McLaurin, Powell, Andrews. Any trade ideas? 3 wide receiver, 1 flex. I mean, depth's going to matter a little bit more with this team. No, I think honestly, the only thing that we're going to look to do is just continuously churn through waivers. You're already doing a good job of just that. We're going to churn the waiver wire and set up a prayer that CMC is going to go. Zakula says 12-team PBR. Should I trade Etienne to get Bijan? I mean, I love both running backs. I actually drafted a lot more Etienne this year just because he was easier to take in round 4. But yeah, I would way rather have Bijan over Etienne. Skipping Loads coming out says PBR 12-team league. We have Kirk, Kyler, Thielen, Addison, Adams, T, Debo, Madison, Montgomery, Elijah Mitchell, Zeke, Akers, Frymuth, Jeb Wilson. I want to trade Devontae Adams. I would say now is the worst time to be selling Devontae Adams. I mean, he is still at the very top of the NFL in volume, but at the same time, just in a free fall with his overall value following his production. I don't want to be selling Kyler. Kyler, we could possibly start over Cousins over the long term. We're waiting for Montgomery to come back too. I hate to give you this answer. I don't see a sell here. We have T. Higgins for the long term, Debo for the long term. We have a couple of guys to cover production right now. I think it's a well-balanced roster. I don't think we look to make a trade, and I don't think we look to sell Devontae Adams. Shane says, Hollywood and Ayuk and Warren for Thielen. Who wins? Oh, I go Hollywood, Ayuk, and Warren. I mean, Thielen right now is like the wide receiver 6 from points per game perspective. He's been great. I wouldn't project him as a top 10 wide receiver rest of season, though. Cameron says 2 and 4, 10-team BBR, where we have Goff, Bijan, Saquon, St. Brown, Debo, Evan Ingram, Flowers. And then on the bench, Gibbs, Charbonnet, Jameson, JSN, Downs, any moves. Good offer, Jeb Wilson and Palmer for Debo Samuel. You definitely want Debo Samuel here. Those other 2 guys are waiver wire options. I mean, you're going to have to drop Josh Downs. Like, Josh Downs is about the same as these other guys. I would say we're going to look to do the exact opposite. We're going to look to see if we can make our own 2-for-1 deal, get an upgrade in the starting lineup. If you could sell like Jameson Williams and Jared Goff in a package and go get a stud quarterback, I think that would make a lot of sense. Sid says, just made a trade for A.J. Brown and JT. Gave Scary Terry, Derrick Henry, and Desmond Ridder. Ridder has no value. Would I rather have Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor? Jonathan Taylor. Would I rather have Scary Terry or A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown. No idea how you pulled that off. Junior says 12-team PBR 1 and 5 single flex. Stroud, Goff, Eckler, JT, Swift, Cook, Harris, Godwin, St. Brown, Johnson, Addison, London, Goddard at tight end. Should I do anything? Obviously, 1 and 5, you're super frustrated. You feel like you need to make it. There's a clear explanation on why this team's 1 and 5. Is it a bad team? No. You had Jonathan Taylor injured. You had Austin Eckler injured. And at a point of the year, you had St. Brown injured. You were beat the hell down with injuries, my friend. I think that now that everybody is back, you should be in a much better spot going forward. But we can actually swing this back around to the other page. Give me 1 second to do just that. And let me remind you too, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Seriously, let me know in the live chat. Do y'all know of anybody else that has live streamed for 173 days in a row at this point? We will go for about 250 days in a row. I believe that's how many days are left in 2023, unless I'm mistaken, which I probably am. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, like Bijan Robinson to have 84 yards this week. That's personally one of my favorites. You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, gonna get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And Underdog has been going nuts with the special pick'ems as of late. For tomorrow night, you have Derek Carr more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, you have a site-wide special for NBA tip-off. LeBron more than less than half a total point. You're going to get both of those. So please make sure you take advantage with promo code FLOCK. But Connor coming out says, Lamb Ramadre for either Saquon or Walker and Flowers. If you wanted to go Lamb and Ramadre for Walker and Flowers, do it. And then trade the running back in Watson for Bijan and Hollywood. Hell yes, hell yes. If we can essentially trade CD and Ramadre for Bijan and Hollywood, I'm signing up for that. I have Kyler's stash, and I'm kind of interested in Brown rest of season. Would you do this? Appreciate everything. No, appreciate you, my friend. I would do this, but I want to be on record, and I want to say the reason why is not for Hollywood Brown, even if we do have Kyler. But the reason why is specifically due to that guy named Bijan. Yeah, you know I'm going to go get Bijan any chance I get, my friend. But Ricky says, should we trade Zach Moss for Zay? We have Walker, Saquon Pierce, Brian Robinson as my running backs. Chase, DK, Evans, Curtis Samuel, and DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver. Up to you. I personally expect that Jonathan Taylor will continue to expand his role, and in the long term, I expect Zach Moss to more so just be a premium handcuff running back, kind of in like the Tyler Algier mold, but that's just me. That's me. Michael says, 4-2, happy BR, where we have Tua, Waddle, Higgins, Ayuk, Myers, Deontay, Judy, Dell, Kelsey, Bijan, White, and Gus. Should I make a trade? 4-2, no. I hate to say this, and I know it's the most boring thing to say, but when you're 4-2 and we're dealing with like an injury to Devon Achane, like we kind of want to be holding on to the depth so we can get through said injury. But at the same time, we don't necessarily need to go out there and make a dramatic trade because we have the flexibility where we still can kind of just hold as is and look for that long-term upside. So I would not make a trade here, my friend. Mel says, Mason, 12-team full BBR. We have Chase, Lockett, Flowers, Fournette, Palmer. Dude wants my Chase and willing to give two of the following. St. Brown, Olave, Lamb. What say you? If it is a multiple flex league and you wanted to sell Jamar Chase for Amon-Ra St. Brown and CD Lamb, I would not fault you for that. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. It'd be a little bit difficult to give up Chase, especially if Burrow will be healthy in the long term. But if we were selling him, Amon-Ra St. Brown and CD Lamb is one hell of a return. I think that would be a very nice price point to get, my friend. Okay. Now, next question coming out from Dalton says, I give the Bills, McLaurin, and Bijan. I receive the Patriots, Tyreek, Deontay, Jaleel, 12-team full BBR, Pollard on bye. Tyreek over Bijan. The defenses I don't really care about. Achane over Deontay. Jaleel has no value. Don't really care if we have Pollard on bye. Don't want to be making a long-term trade to cover a 1-week bye. If it's close to me and it involves Bijan Robinson, you should probably go with the other side. You should probably go Tyreek Hill, right? Because I'm always going to have that Bijan bias. So if it's not a no-brainer, give me Bijan, you probably want Tyreek. Joey says, Harris or Jaleel? Leaning Jaleel. I'm going to go Najee over Jaleel. Jaleel's in a 3-man running back by committee and one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Najee's in a 2-man running back by committee. And Gary says, 10 DBBR, I'm 2-4. We have Lamar, Andrews, Eckler, Barkley, Achane, Adams, Adrian Brown, Hopkins. Just traded Mixon for B-Hop. Who's B-Hop? I'm assuming you mean D-Hop, right? Please let me know in the live chat. Am I missing something? I don't know who this is. Nobody in the chat saying who it is either. If you traded Mixon for Hopkins, it's a bad deal. Riggy says trade Moss for Flowers for Devonta Smith. Like if we can trade Zach Moss for Devonta Smith, if that's the deal, we're going to go for Devonta Smith. Diddy says someone dumped Lamb. How much waiver for him? I can't really answer this question unless I know who we are dropping and how many teams are in our league. Because obviously, if it was like a 12-team league, I would spend 100% of my fab to go get CeeDee Lamb off the waiver wire. But at the same time, if it's a league where Lamb is getting dropped, there are some people occasionally will walk into the live stream and ask a question about a 4-team league, you know? And in a 4-team league, we probably don't want to drop 100%. So it is tough. It's tough. Grady says, hey, Mason, I'm squishier. Hell yes, happy to see you. We have Hurts, Eckler, Pollard, Brees, Pittman, Waddle, Evans, DJ Moore, Hawkinson. With Brees on the bench and a solid wide receiver, what trade should I make? Elite team, 2 top 5 running backs. I mean, arguably another top 10 RB with Brees at this point. Great wide receivers with upside. We have an elite quarterback and elite tight ends. I mean, DJ Moore was that sell-high guy for us last week. Probably be a little bit tougher to get something that we really like for him now. But yeah, if we could go out there, if we could sell DJ Moore and Mike Evans, go get a wide receiver upgrade, or DJ Moore and Michael Pittman and go get a wide receiver upgrade. Really, like, that is the only thing that would make sense for this team. No, I mean, when we are just freaking loaded here. One fat nut says, my luck held Kyler all year, dropped early today. Oh my God, that is brutal. That is the funniest thing ever, my man. And I'll be honest, I mean, every single time we've had someone come out up until literally today, if I would have seen your roster at any time starting week 1 through week 6, and you would have came into a live stream and said, here's my roster, and it had Kyler on it, I'd be like, oh, drop Kyler Murray. If you can't put him on the IR, you got to drop him. We have no idea when this guy's coming back. You got to have a space for waiver wire moves. So that's why you don't that's why you don't draft him in the first place, you know, just because you have no idea. Stevan says 12-team PBR 4-2. Need to upgrade at running back, tight end. Start Tour, Madre, Roshan, Amon-Ra, Diggs, Waller, Kirk, and then on the bench, Higgins, Sutton, London, Montgomery, Charbonnet, Najee. I think I'm trying to think. Obviously, it sucks right now because we have the Montgomery injury. Montgomery was good to go. It's not like this is a horrible spot. If you wanted to sell Christian Kirk and like Ramondre Stevenson, if you could get to the Kenneth Walker range, obviously I'm doing it. I just don't know if we can. Like, I don't know if anybody's excited to go through and trade for Ramondre. And until we get Montgomery back, I don't know if we have enough firepower to go out there and trade for a tight ends. A tight end's obviously a little bit more of a luxury, right? Great team. I think you honestly may just need to be a little bit patient with Montgomery. But Brandon says 10-team BBR where we have Watson, Kyler, Lawrence, Pollard, James Cook, Brian Robinson, Roshan, Tyreek, T, DJ, Amari, Nico, Palmer, Deontay, Sutton, Andrews. Should I target a running back or a receiver? Yeah, so having Kyler is going to come save us at QB, really. It's really tough, right? Because, I mean, in your spot, I don't really want to focus in. Obviously, we could trade James Cook and like Nico Collins, go get a running back upgrade. That's an easy move. But instead of focusing on that, which you already know you should kind of do. Yeah, trade James Cook, one of those depth receivers, go get an upgrade there. Like, you don't want to roster 3 quarterbacks, but it's like, okay, all 3 of these guys should have long-term value, enough value where we don't want to cut them. But at the same time, none of them are valuable enough to start right away because they're all dealing with injuries. So you kind of find yourself in a position where it's, okay, well, I can't cut these guys. I can't trade them for really anything. So I have no idea what you do there at quarterback. Rex says, hey, Mason, love Mostert, Walker, AJ, Hollywood, Laporta. Who do we start at the flex? Myers, Terry, Brian Robinson, Lamb on bye. Also, how can I trade Mostert? Thanks. We're going to go Brian Robinson at the flex. I don't necessarily think Mostert's going to be a sell right now. If you were looking to sell Mostert, maybe it'd be next week. If you wanted to sell Mostert on this team, however, I think it would be Mostert and Love to get an elite level quarterback. I think that would be the play there if you were going to make one. Okay. But I think we need to swing this back around to the other page so we can keep bringing these questions up. And as I do that, ladies and gentlemen, go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have somehow not done so already. And if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And ladies and gentlemen, Underdog has been going nuts with the special pick'ems as of late. I mean, you have a Derek Carr special pick'em for Thursday, more than less than half a total yard, and a site-wide special pick'em. LeBron, more than less than half a total point as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that if you have not done so already. But let's swing this back around. Ooh, really got to shrink this down, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize about that. I apologize. Okay. So our next switch coming out from Ive3 Brosify says 10 team PBR 3-3, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a flex, a super flex. We have Tua, Burrow, Stafford, Watson, Saquon, Achane, Roshan, Jefferson, Puka, Olave, Higgins, Amari, Goddard. So, I mean, the issue is with this team, we are dealing with the Achane injury and the Justin Jefferson injury. Since it's a league where we only start 2 running backs and 1 flex, we're going to be fine with 3 wins already where we aren't going to be forced to go out there and sell one of these guys. But at the same time, with that being said, you're probably in a position where you don't necessarily want to go out there and make too many trades to get upgrades in the starting lineup when we kind of have to hold on to our depth until these players come back. So I'm very sorry. I know we give this answer a lot, but in this kind of scenario, it's the correct answer. You probably need to go through and sit on your hands and just wait until these guys make it back. Mel Bailey says, 1 more full BBR. Please rank Ford, Warren, Roshan, Geno, Lawrence. We're going to go Geno over Lawrence. And then Ford, Warren, Roshan. I mean, in our rankings this week, we had Ford 21, Roshan 22, and Warren 24. And then trade away Laporta, Ford for DeAndre Swift, where we have Kelsey. Yes, I would make that move. And then DST, we're going to go with the Raiders, the Rams, or the Browns. Ooh, I think we are going to go ahead. We will take the Raiders, even if the Browns. Actually, I'm probably going to go Browns because that's a defense that we will also roster rest of season, right? Even if the Raiders have a great matchup this week, Browns are good enough to roster rest of season. Max says, what is Kyler's trade value right now? We have Allen. I mean, obviously, it's very difficult to just pin down for a specific player. I'd say I would bet if you approach the Fields and Anthony Richardson team, you could possibly trade like Kyler and a wide receiver 3 for a high-end wide receiver 2. So maybe you could trade like Kyler and Jamison Williams and go out there and get like Devonta Smith if you have Josh Allen. Will says 10-team BBR single flex. We have Lamar, Walker, Mostert, Olave, Puka, Ingram, Barkley. Lamb, Evans, Ayuk, Kirk. Should I start Evans or Ayuk over Barkley? Probably not. And then if you are looking at any trades, when you have a 10-team, one flex league where we're having to bench this many phenomenal wide receivers, it does make a lot of sense for us to go out there and just send one of these depth receivers in a package with someone like Evan Ingram and go get that upgrade at tight ends because we can afford it. Burner account says, trash at receiver. Sent Stevenson for London and Elijah. I like selling Stevenson. I don't necessarily like buying London, though, so. Kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there, my friend. Stuck in a way there. Okay. Now, Hector says, Bijan, Puka, Amari for Chase in either Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor. I'd be pairing Chase with Tyreek, and we still have Smith, Kirk on the bench. Would you do it? And if so, for what running back? So Bijan to say JT down, or Bijan to Jacobs. I'd rather have Jacobs. Bijan to Jacobs downgrade. Puka and Amari for Chase, massive upgrade. I think it is a fair deal, and it is going to be up to you. Very fair trading up to you, my friend. Gary says, give Bijan and get Saquon and Geno. Very bad trade. Saquon's offensive line is decimated. Keep Bijan. Burner account says, Jalen Hurts for Burrow, Montgomery. Is this an okay deal? If it's a 6-point passing touchdown format and you want to think long-term, sure. I mean, I do think that Jalen Hurts fundamentally does give you a pretty big difference compared to Joe Burrow, though. Now, Max says 3-3, full BBR, 3 receivers in a flex. Any moves? We have Allen, Kyler. We're going to be looking to sell Kyler if we have Allen. Etienne, Zach Evans, Javonte, Keontae, Charbonnet, Tank, Chase, Jefferson, Addison, Pittman, Dobbs. Phenomenal team for this build. I would love to go out there and I'd love to sell Kyler and one of these running back twos like Javonte and go get an upgrade at running back. Let's approach the Fields team. Let's approach the Anthony Richardson team and go, hey, man, I'll give you Kyler Murray and Javonte Williams and give me the best running back you can. I think that's a move that would make a lot of sense if you could get to maybe like Mixon. Let me see if let's test out the waters with the live chat real quick with the Kyler price. Ignore this team in particular. In a vacuum, let's put yourself in the shoes of a team that loses Justin Fields. You lost Fields or you lost Anthony Richardson. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Kyler Murray and Javonte Williams or Joe Mixon? Kyler and Javonte or Joe Mixon? Please let me know. We have one vote for Kyler. Kyler, Mixon, Kyler, Mixon. Mixon, Kyler. Yeah, so it does look like that's a deal that we could possibly pull off. And I think that's the one that we would be trying to do. Andrew says 12 team, 4-2, full BBR. Starting Lamar, Hill, Cup, Walker, Algier, Mayer, Rice, Ridley. We have Osborne, Baker, Reed, Mason, Mitchell, Wilson, Kyron. What moves should we make? Drop Baker at this point. Actually, you can hold on to it if you want. But if we have Lamar, we're starting Lamar every week. Honestly, in terms of trades, I don't necessarily see many here. The only thing is, like, a lot of these players on the bench, I don't think are quality depth pieces. I'm completely fine with you going through and taking a shot on these guys for a week, right? But I think the main thing that this team wants to do is just go out there and consistently look to churn waivers. If you can just consistently churn that waiver wire, I think that you would be in a good spot. I don't really see a lot of trades that make sense from a starting lineup perspective. Now, Kai says, Moss and Love for Jamar and Henry. It's a super flex format. We have JT. Would I rather have Love or Jamar Chase in a super flex format? Jamar Chase by a mile. Would I rather have Moss or Derrick Henry? Give me Derrick Henry. So yeah, we're going to go Jamar and Derrick Henry here, my friend. Now, YY says, full BBR team is now Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren, Pollard, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan, Pitts, Ferguson, Chase, Rashee Rice, Joshua Palmer, JSN, Najee. On the IR, we have Kyler, Jeff Wilson, any moves. So over the next few weeks, we're going to need to prepare ourselves to go and actually get Kyler off the IR, and I'd say Jeff Wilson as well. So, I mean, the depth on this team kind of has to go, right? And I think the primary objective of this roster, if we have Mahomes, would be to see if we can package together Kyler and like Kyle Pitts and go get an upgraded tight end. Like if maybe the Fields or Anthony Richardson owners had Andrews, had Hawkinson, had Laporta, and we could send Kyler and Kyle Pitts for one of those tight ends, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And then another 2-for-1 deal if we could send like Rashee Rice and Joshua Palmer just to get a slight wide receiver upgrade. That way we can go out there and that way we can pick up someone like, we can move Jeff Wilson Jr. off the IR and still be able to make waiver wire moves. Because right now it's going to be hard to move those guys. Burner account says weak flex options, happy BR. Start 2. Jameson, Jeff Wilson, Palmer, Moore, Elijah Moore, or Downs. We're going to go DJ Moore and Joshua Palmer, my friend. I think Jameson Williams is a much better NFL receiver, but for fantasy, with the volume that you're getting in a very good offense, I think you can go Palmer. Phil says 2 different teams, pick 2 out of 3. Ridley, Addison, Kirk. Ooh. I'm going to go Addison and Ridley, but I mean, Kirk and Ridley are literally back-to-back in my rankings. Ridley, DJ Moore, London. We're going to go DJ Moore and Ridley. Thanks for everything, Mason. Thank you, my man. And with DJ Moore, I honestly don't necessarily think that like the Justin Fields injury is like the end of DJ Moore. Justin Fields was still a very bad quarterback. It's not like DJ Moore was... I don't know. Like DJ Moore is thriving off of himself. I don't think it really had much to do with Justin Fields. So, I mean, obviously it's not good that Justin Fields gets injured. But I don't think it's like, oh, okay, DJ Moore now goes from being a mid-wide receiver 2 to unstartable. Max says 10-team BBR, single flex, 2 and 4. We have Geno, Kyler, Eckler, Mostert, Breece, Lamb, Waddle, Ridley, Flowers, Higgins, Musgrave. Any moves? We got offered A.J. Brown for Breece and Flowers. In a 10-team single flex format, yes, I would sell Breece and Flowers for A.J. Brown. Quarterback, we are fine. A running back, we're in a great spot as well. I think it's a great team. Yeah, let's go make that 2-for-1 deal. Obviously, we could upgrade tight end, we would. But once we go through and make that 2-for-1 deal and get A.J. Brown, probably we're not going to be able to afford it with our depth at that point. But Jamie says trade Zach Moss and Jameson for T. Higgins. I think you could get a little more value for Zach Moss and Jameson, even if I like Higgins as a buy low guy. Colton says start Goddard or Laporta this week. We are going to go Laporta, even if Goddard's in a very high scoring game environment. Miles says 5-1, 12-team BBR. Trade Etienne, Roschon, Rashee Rice for A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle. Etienne to A.J. Brown, give me A.J. Brown. Roschon, Rashee Rice for Jalen Waddle. Give me Jalen Waddle, so we'll do it. We have Walker, Etienne, Wilson, Roschon, Hunt at running back. And yeah, I mean, a wide receiver, if we have the Jefferson injury, let's go out there and let's get the best player in A.J. Brown, especially if we're thinking long-term here. Now, Cody says 1-5, 10-team, 2-quarterback PPR. We have Dak, Love, Breece, Gibbs, Adams, London, Flowers, Sutton, Godwin, Pitts. 3 future firsts. 2 of them are probably top 3. Was offered Amon-Ra for the 101. Do not sell in a 2-quarterback league any of those first-round picks if we're 1-5 and taking. You would way rather have Caleb Williams this offseason than Amon-Ra St. Brown in a 2-quarterback dynasty league. I promise you, when May comes around, when June comes around, if you trade the 101 for Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're going to be kicking yourself. specifically on a rebuilding team anyway. I'm not worried about rostering 2 Lions and 2 Falcons. That's like the last of my worries. I would say on this tanking team, I mean, let's go through and let's sell Devontae Adams and get another future first. Let's go out there. Let's sell Chris Godwin. And yeah, let's just play for the long term here. Now, Jack says 12 team, 2-4 PBR, where we have Stroud, Eckler, Montgomery, Brees, Waddle, Smith, Ingram, Osborne, Michael Thomas, Palmer, Craig Reynolds. Any trades I should look to make to stay in contention? This team doesn't really have a lot of depth, and it's very painful to say, but I think that you're probably in a spot where it makes sense for us to go through and actually sell David Montgomery with the injury, where Montgomery still has that long-term upside, but in the short term, he's not really going to be giving us production. And on a 2-4 roster, we don't really have any depth. I mean, we probably need to cash him in for some production right now. Chris says, hey, Mason, 12-team PPR, super deep league. Traded DJ Moore and Justice Hill for Smith and Higgins. Great deal. Traded 1 startable wide receiver for 2 other guys in the same range. Makes so much sense in this format. Was happy at first, but saw Smith as a hammy. Are we unconcerned? I mean, if we are looking at Smith, clearly not good news, especially when they sign Julio Jones if he is dealing with a hamstring injury. But nonetheless, from a roster construction perspective, making this style of trade makes so much sense in this format. Now, GoPro Dude says 10-team PBR, 4-2. We have Hurts, Bijan, Eckler, Waller, Lamb, Smith, Addison, Watson, T. Amari, JSN, Thielen, Charbonnet, Zach Evans. Trades, thoughts, where do we go from here? It's a very active league. This is a team where we just have so many wide receivers, right? I mean, it's a super strong roster, but we have Lamb, Smith, Addison, Watson, T. Amari, JSN, Thielen. We have 8 startable wide receivers here. So the only thing that I would say is we have no excuse not to have an elite level tight ends. If we don't have an elite tight end by this point, I would love to go out there and send Adam Thielen and go get someone like TJ Hawkinson if we can. Okay. But let me refresh this. Our next question is going to be coming out from Stefan. And as I do this, you know, I got to remind you, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we've almost had 10,000 likes on this live stream and only have, 10,000 views and about 800 likes. So come on, only about 8.5% of y'all have hit that like button. Go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, one of my favorite pick'ems on Underdog for this week will be for Bijan Robinson to have more than 83.5 total yards. You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK. You're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And Underdog has been going nuts with the special pick'ems as of late. You have a Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, you're going to get a LeBron NBA tip-off special, more than less than half a total point as well. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that with code FLOCK. But we said Stefan was our next question here. Okay. And we are really going to have to... God, I hate that it does this. We're only going to answer a couple questions like this. And then we are going to switch to the other screen. So it shouldn't be a too big of a deal. But Stefan says, got offered Kyron Gibbs Smith for Amon-Ra and Ramondre. Give me St. Brown over Gibbs and Smith, Ramondre versus Kyron. Give me Kyron, but obviously you're dealing with an injury right now. So honestly, I think it's a fair deal. If you really needed points in the lineup, you can go for it. I mean, it just depends on the timeline of Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams misses 1 week. You clearly want Kyron Williams here. Kyron Williams misses 3 weeks. Probably a little bit tougher. Now, sleep-deprived amateur, always happy to see him, my man says, 6-0. 10-team league, happy BR. 2 streams ago, you said a package Andrews Watson for an elite receiver. Who do we target? Trade for Smith and Achane from the 1-6 team. Andrews to Achane, give me Andrews. Watson to Smith, give me Smith. Add Roschon to sweeten the deal. We lost Kyron, Montgomery. We have Pacheco, Roschon, James Cook. We can't add Roschon. If you wanted to go out there and if you wanted to make this deal, I'm fine with it. But specifically when we're already dealing with the lack of running back depth overall and we're trading for another injured running back, to go through and trade one of the very few startable running backs that we have at this point probably would be difficult for us to do, right? I would say a trade that'd be very appealing on a 6-0 roster, if possible, is if we could go through and if we could potentially send like Mark Andrews and Christian Watson, or Mark Andrews and another wide receiver in that range, like Brandon Ayuk, say, a slightly better receiver, and go get to the Justin Jefferson tier on a 6-0 team. I mean, go get Justin Jefferson also dealing with that injury, but we know he's going to be elite when he does come back. I think that'd be very interesting. Now, Cade says 14-team BBR single flex 2 and 4. We have Geno, Bijan, Mixon, Cooper Kupp, Adams, DK, and then on the bench we have Najee, Dillon, Quentin Johnston, Charbonnet, any moves, and should we trade Joe for Alvin? I mean, Alvin has had a better workload so far, but been super inefficient with it, and you may get Jamal Williams back in, so I don't necessarily know if we are that excited to make that move, to be honest with you. What can we do here? 14-team league, 2 and 4. Depth's going to matter a little bit more. The thing is, like, you trade Joe for Kamara. Yeah, we dodged the Joe Mixon bye week this week, but we're still going to have a Kamara bye week later on. So it's like different than trading like an injured guy for someone that's going to play more games, you know? I think it's a very well-balanced roster. I honestly don't think you have to do anything. It's a 14-team format. It's not surprising that we started off slow when we had no Cooper Kupp. Going forward, I think it'll be much better, especially as we get an Adams bounce back. Max says 3 and 3 full BBR drop Keontae Ingram for Jahan Dotson. Why? No, Jahan Dotson's not rosterable at this point, my friend. Justin says 10-team full BBR, 3-man keeper, 2 and 4. We have Jacobs, Javonte, Keenan Allen, Lockett, Kelsey, Kirk, Hopkins, and then on the bench, Deontay, Jeff Wilson, Kmet, Josh Reynolds, Hubbard, Deonta Foreman, HN. What do we do? 3-player keeper. We probably don't want to trade HN. Probably want to be keeping him next year. I think I would rather roster 2 quarterbacks than I would want to roster 2 tight ends if our QB1 is Brock Purdy and our tight end 1's Travis Kelce. So if I could send, say, like Cole Kmet and Lockett, get an upgrade at wide receiver in the starting lineup, and with that open roster spot, pick up another quarterback and then play the matchups between Purdy and another guy, I would do that. Jeremiah says, should we pick up Akers and drop Quentin Johnston? I probably would. I mean, because with Akers, while he's not really anything right now, if you were to have an Alexander Madison injury, then obviously he would have that high ceiling. Okay. Now, GoPro Dude says 10-team PPR, 3 and 3. We have Lamar, Andrews, JT, Kyron, Lamb, Diggs, Olave, Waddle, Hunt, Charbonnet, JSN, Palmer, Reynolds, Algier, any trades, and what to do instead of working waiver wire. So we have the bookend, elite quarterback, elite tight end stacked together. We have the Kyron injury for the short term. We have wide receivers that we like at the very top. I think that from a roster construction, this is a phenomenal team overall. I think that we do have long-term upside. My main concern that I would have with this team is if that's Josh Reynolds. Probably want to be dropping Josh Reynolds and going and picking up a running back that may be viable with the Kyron Williams injury, especially when we're elite at wide receiver like this. And if you were really making to make a trade, I don't like selling these guys. I think these guys pretty damn good and should maintain or, maybe even increase in value. But the deal would be sending like a depth receiver like Olave and Kyron Williams to go get a stud running back if we can. Now, JC says 4-2, 14-team league, single flex. Traded Walker Kmet to get Bijan and Andrews. Oh, beautiful deal. I'd rather have Bijan straight up. Starters are Lamar, CMC, Kamara. Oh, yeah, this is a phenomenal team. 14-team league. After we make this deal, don't really want to be making any more. I will say if we could sell Ian Rice, probably going to be something I look to do just because, I mean, he's been super efficient from a per route run perspective. They're just not letting him run routes, and I don't necessarily think that's guaranteed to change whenever you add in McCole Hardman here. But yeah, great trade there. Now let's swing this back around to the other page. Okay. Next question coming out from Wolfgang says, 12-team PPR double flex. We have Love, Kamara, Pacheco, Kupp, Ridley, Thomas, Puka, Ramondre. On the bench, we have London, Lawrence, Warren, Roshan, Dobbs, Elijah Moore, JSN, Devon Achane. 4-2. I want to make moves rest of season. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, my man. Double flex league, the depth's going to matter a little bit more. And the issue that I have here, I would love to tell you to make a trade. But if we're trying to get an upgrade in the starting lineup, what do we do? I think it would be great to get a tight end upgrade, right? If we could. But fundamentally, we go down to the bench. Our names are London, Lawrence, Warren, Roshan, Dobbs, Elijah Moore, JSN, Devon Achane. It's a 4-2 team where we're better off holding on to Devon Achane for his long-term ceiling here. So in reality, I think that you're much better off just being patient, waiting until Devon Achane comes back, waiting until we get through the buys. And then once that does happen, then at that point, going out there and upgrading tight end through a trade. But until we get that depth added in, because of this format in this situation overall, you're probably in a situation where you're more so inclined to go through and keep the team as is. I hate to say it. I just think that you have to be a little more patient there. And I know it's not helping, but still. Colin says, who should I try to trade Lockett for? I mean, if you could trade him for Devonta Smith, go out there and do it. I will say it's going to be very difficult to sell Lockett in reality. I don't necessarily I answer I don't want to say 1,000. I probably answer 300 questions per night minimum. Include probably the 100 comments I answer a day. I probably answer 400 fantasy football questions every single day. And out of those 400 questions, or say it's Wednesday, so I've answered over 1,000 questions this week. Those 1,000 questions, I don't necessarily know if I've had a single person come out and say, what should I trade for Tyler Lockett? I don't know if anybody was wanting to trade for Lockett. Lockett does have a ton of targets. Aaron says 2 receivers, 2 running backs, assuming 1 flex. 3-3, we have Tua, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Evans, Amari, Godwin, Samuel, Eckler, Hall, Gibbs, Kyron, Roshan, Warren, Waller. Any trade advice? I mean, if you could sell Kyron and Waller and go get an elite level tight end, I think that'd make a lot of sense, specifically because this team can afford it, right? Like, we have 3 viable running backs here, and we have the great wide receivers. So, this is one of those teams where, yeah, we can afford to go out there and make that trade to get that upgrade in the starting lineup and get that elite level tight end. Now, Dean Dog coming out says, hey, Mason, 2-4, 12-team PPR. I'd get Kelsey for Amari Brees. If not, what should we get for Gibbs and Amari? We have Bijan, Devontae, Waddle, and Watson. What are your thoughts? If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I'd be fine with it. I would rather sell Gibbs and Amari than I would Amari and Brees for Travis Kelce. Especially if it's going to be a team where we're 2-4 and we're not necessarily thinking about long-term upside. I think Gibbs and Amari for Kelce would make a lot of sense there. Ray says, what moves, if any, in a 12-team PPR 3-3, where we have Howell, Fields, Kyron, Pollard, Sanders, Smith, Ayuk, Amari, Kirk, Flowers, Zay Jones, Lamb, Pat Frymuth. First thing is, when we have this kind of wide receiver production and this disparity at wide receiver talent versus running back, I think you go ahead and you drop Zay Jones and you go pick up a running back off the waiver wire if we can. And if you wanted to see if we could send like Zay Flowers and Kyron Williams or Christian Kirk and Kyron Williams and go get a stud running back, I think that'd make a lot of sense. GoPro Dudes out again says 10-team double flex, 2 and 4. We have Burrow, Bijan, JT, AJ Olave, Watson, T, Goddard, Palmer, Reynolds, Downs, Atwell, Charbonnet, Algier. What do we do from here? First thing is, I think we'd probably go ahead and drop Tutu Atwell at this point. I don't know what world in a 10-team league we're ever really starting him. I mean, whenever we have Cup and Puka good to go. So I'm probably going to look to cut Tutu. Outside of that, it's a great team. I don't necessarily think that we're going to do anything. Cut Tutu Atwell, pick up a quarterback to play for Burrow this week. I'm really surprised the teams too. I guess actually you had the Jonathan Taylor injury. So the team will be much better going forward. You had the Watson injury, the Jonathan Taylor injury, the Burrow injury. I think the team will be much better. Colin says, thoughts on Montgomery, Ramondre, and Jameson's trade value. Montgomery still has a considerable amount of value. Obviously, it's the running back, the low-end running back one when he is back from this injury. I mean, he's been much better than that so far. Ramondre Stevenson, I think we're projecting out as that low-end RB2, high-end RB3 based off his offense and inefficiency. And then Jameson Williams, I would just view as like that low-end wide receiver 3 that will be volatile. I like him in best ball, but from like a redraft perspective, not too excited. Zach says, Godwin, Stroud, Dell for Cooper Kupp. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Cooper Kupp here, my friend. Jordan says, happy BR 10-team league, DJ Moore for Tua. We have Lamb, Puka, Evans, Waddle, Bijan, Brian Robinson, Andrews, and Fields. Good or bad trade? If Fields' playoff schedule sucks, want a set and forget quarterback. I'm fine with you going ahead and doing this based off what you think of the Justin Fields injury. Obviously, I have no idea what the timeline looks like for Fields. All I would say is they really don't have any incentive to bring him back anytime soon, right? Like the incentive isn't there to be rushing Justin Fields back from this injury when he could possibly have the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. Tristan says 10-team BBR double flex. 2 and 4. We have Purdy, CMC, Eckler, Waddle, Amari, Ingram, Pacheco, Gibbs, Higgins. We have 2 potential trades, Gibbs and Amari for Ridley and Wilson. And then Pacheco for Olave and Zach Charbonnet. Double flex, full BBR format. Wide receiver is going to be a little bit more valuable here. Going from Amari to Ridley, probably a slight downgrade. I mean, I had Amari ranked over Ridley coming into the season. It's just difficult with the Watson injury. And then Gibbs versus Wilson. I definitely think that we want to go with Wilson in a double flex full BBR format. And then Pacheco for Olave. I mean, if we make the first one, we can't do the second one. So I think we would be fine with either trade specifically because of the format this is in. And it's really going to be down to you to pick which one of the 2 you want. Samuel says 2 and 4, 12-team full BBR. We have Fields, Tua, Kyler, Robinson, Gainwell, Foreman, Waddle, Puka, Keenan, Lamb, Hollywood, Goddard. We need running backs any moves. So, I mean, obviously at this point, it's going to be very difficult to be rostering 3 quarterbacks. What I'd say is probably going to reach out to that Anthony Richardson team and see if we can look to send them Kyler Murray and get back any viable running back. Like if you'd send Kyler Murray and Deonta Foreman and go get a running back that we can actually start, I do think that makes a lot of sense. Because, I mean, we can't be rostering 3 quarterbacks. We can't be thinking about long-term upside here. And instead, we need to be prioritizing points in this starting lineup right now. Max says trade Kyler and Javonte for James Cook. I'd be trying to get more value than James Cook, my man. I mean, James Cook is scary. Joey says, do we trade James Cook to get Brian Robinson? We have Aaron Jones, Kyren Williams. I think I would prefer Brian Robinson over James Cook at this point. Babe Hughes has got offered Eckler and Waddle for Kupp and Kamara. Give me Eckler over Kupp. Waddle, Kamara. Probably give me Kamara. If you're worried about Jamal coming back in, I'm fine going and getting Eckler there. Eckler's already through his bye. Zach says Herbert, Eckler, Etienne, St. Brown, Jacoby, Andrews, Brian Robinson, White, Nico, KJ, Jaleel, Rashee Rice, Evans, Deontay. Should I go get a better wide receiver too? I mean, you could afford it, right? If you really wanted to, because we have this kind of depth. So if you could trade Nico Collins and Jacoby Myers, or Deontay Johnson and Nico Collins, or Deontay Johnson and Jacoby Myers, essentially 2 of those wide receivers in any package and go get that upgrade, I think that would make a lot of sense. Now, Lincoln Monroe says 10-team BBR double flex. We have Stafford, Etienne, Swift, Brown, Keenan, Laporta, Pittman. 5 and 1. Should I trade for an elite quarterback? Any team advice? We have Kyler and Dak. Double flex league. It's going to Matter a little bit less to have the elite level quarterback. And honestly, 5-1, no. I think we're going to be sitting on our hands here. The only thing is if you really wanted to go out there and see if we could send like Saquon and go get Jefferson for the long term for the flex play on a 5-1 roster, we can do that. But yeah, no, Kyler, I mean, Stafford's definitely playable for the short term. And I mean, 5-1 long term, you have Kyler. Clutch Box, always happy to see it. Says 12-team super flex. Someone offered me Bijan, Eckler, Stafford for CMC, Ridley, Herbert. Super flex going from Herbert to Stafford, pretty big downgrade. CMC to Eckler, up to you. Ridley, Bijan, give me Bijan's not close. So let's take out CMC and Eckler. Because, I mean, you'd rather have CMC from a per game perspective, but Eckler may give you 2 extra games this season. So I do think that they are very comparable. So it's like Bijan and Stafford or Ridley and Herbert. If it was a 1 quarterback format, I'm going to go Bijan and Stafford easily. In a super flex league, I think it's very close and it is up to you. Is this trade even or not? Would putting Kyler in for Stafford make it better? Probably not. I mean, about the same. I think the trade is even. It's going to be up to you. If I was, say, 2-4 and needed points right now and couldn't think about long-term upside, I would just go Bijan, Eckler, and Stafford so we can have some startable players for this moment. Chris saying, thanks for missing the chat. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I really hope we did not, my friend. Oh, yeah, we did answer this, my friend. This was the league where, I mean, you had to go super deep. 3 wide receivers, double flex. Traded DJ Moore and Justice Hill for Devonta Smith and Higgins. Yes, sir. Really like the deal specifically for that format. Yeah, love it. Now, Naruto says 12-team, 4-2. Happy BR format. Point per carry. So 1 quarterback with rushing upside, 6-point passing touchdown. Having Josh Allen here is the cheat code. Love to see it. We have Barkley, Walker, Mixon, beautiful built-around running back in this league. Olave, Amon-Ra, Hawkinson, beautiful team top to bottom. Traded Kirk to Mixon and Pickens and Tutu for Amon-Ra. Sit still. You're in a phenomenal spot. We're built around running backs with volume in a 1/4 point per carry league. Love to see that, my friend. James says, Lamb for Laporta, Addison for Jackson in the chat. My man, thank you so much for everything. You know I appreciate you, and I really hope you are at the next Flock meetup in January. But Lamb for Laporta and Addison. I was way too low on Laporta this year. I think Laporta is tied in 4 rest of season. I personally would probably prefer CeeDee Lamb, but I still view Lamb as a top 6-ish receiver, like wide receiver 6, wide receiver 7. So I probably go Lamb. I think the majority of people in the chat would go with Sam Laporta, though. Matthew says, full BBR 1-5. Save me, please. We have Cousins, Eckler, Saquon, Ayuk, Olave, Wilson, Sutton, Reynolds, Watson, Dell, Zach Evans, and Jordan Love. 1-5. We can't afford to think about long-term upside. We need points right now. I feel like we don't necessarily have a ton of players on this team that give you long-term upside, but not points in the immediate. If you could sell like Dell and Ayuk, Dell and Wilson and just go get a wide receiver, we're going to sure, let's do it. In reality, I think it's a fine team. I think it's very understandable why this team is 1-5. I mean, you had Eckler injured, you had Saquon injured, right? Like, it is very difficult to overcome that, but going forward, we should be in a much better spot. Evan says 10-team BBR 4-2. We have Mahomes, Pollard, Henry, Jefferson, Smith, Thomas, Lockett, Pittman, London, Spears, Amari, Reynolds. I'm sorry, where did we miss out off? Smith, Logan Thomas, Lockett, Pittman, London, Spears, Amari, Gibbs, Ramondre. Got offered David Montgomery and Michael Thomas for Derrick Henry and Spears. Love the content, my man. Really appreciate you. Montgomery versus Henry. Give me a healthy Montgomery. I understand we're 4-2, so we can think a little bit more long-term. I still probably want Montgomery. And give me Spears over Michael Thomas at this point, because the thing is, I think, honestly, we maybe want to keep Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. Next week, we could potentially look to make this deal, but if there is that chance that you end up getting a trade from the Tennessee Titans sending away Derrick Henry, then ultimately you're maybe in a spot where You have two startable running backs there, I don't necessarily think that we need to go through and we need to hold on to these guys. Fair deal. I think we go Henry and Spears based off the Henry rumors. Luke says, do you think it's wise to hold out on Devontae Adams? We know his ceiling, but when will we get back to it? Devontae Adams like number 6 in the NFL in targets right now. I'm holding on to Adams. Luke says, one more question. What is Saquon worth to you right now? I think we have to project out Saquon Barkley as a low-end RB1. I mean, the workload should look like a mid to high-end RB1, especially with what he can do as a receiver. The issue is obviously just he's in one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and at the same time, this offensive line is just a train wreck. Now, Smokey the Cat says, one quarterback league, Allen and DJ Moore. For Jamar Chase, we have Burrow on the bench. I would rather have Jamar Chase if we have Burrow as well. Swift Smith with our next question. We may have to swing this back around. Swift Smith. Yes, we're going to have to swing this. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me 1 second. Okay. This is got Eckler, Christian Watson for a second round pick. We have Jalen Hurts, AJ Swift, CMC, Kyron Hawkinson. Deontay coming off the IR. How's my rest of phenomenal team, my friend. I mean, I don't necessarily think that there are too many moves that we're going to be looking to make now once we add in Eckler. I mean, it does make a lot of sense for this team, but we're probably going to have to sit here and be a little bit patient with both the injury to CMC as well as the injury to Kyron Williams, right? So short term, I think it may be a little bit tough. Long term, I think you'll be in a very good spot, though. Okay. Now, B says, should we pick up Kyler for Deshaun Watson? Yes, I think we asked the live chat this earlier, and everybody was saying Kyler over Watson. Steelbow says 2 and 4, 10 TBBR single flex. We have Burrow, Swift, Hall, Olave, Moore, Kelsey, Pittman. And then on the bench, we have Pacheco, Ford, Thomas, Rice, and Samuel. Traded Swift, Ford for A.J. Brown. Oh, great trade. I mean, Ford, in my mind, in a 10-team league, 1 flex. I don't necessarily think he's someone with a ton of value just because he is splitting, of course. Trying to think. Was offered Jefferson and Mixon for Pacheco, Pittman, Thomas. So 2 and 4, I don't think we... It's so tough because I think that in a vacuum, I would way rather have Justin Jefferson here. I think that the Justin Jefferson side is what we want to take. However, with that being said, you're 2 and 4. You need points in this starting lineup right now. We can't make the play for Jefferson. I want to tell you to do it so bad. Maybe if you think you flip Jefferson for more, but right now we can't. Lukey says 12-team BBR, send Bijan, Waddle for Hill and Mixon. He'll give me Hill over Bijan, Waddle versus Mixon, up to you. So yeah, we will go get Hill and Mixon here. Colton says 12-team full BBR. We have Hurts, Rashad, Brees, Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Andrews, Nico. And then on the bench, we have Watson, Rasheed, Roshan, Cortland Sutton, Shoe Hubbard. Want a better RB2? Any ideas? I completely understand why you'd want a better running back too. So what players are expendable on this team? Like, who are we not starting this week? Cortland Sutton, Rasheed Rice. Those are the best guys we are not starting this week. Can we package them with Rachaad White and get an upgrade in the starting lineup? In reality, probably not. I completely understand your thought process in wanting a running back too, but until we get through the bye weeks, we don't have enough depth. We don't have value where we can afford it. Now, Cooper says, PBR double flex, Walker, Mixon, Mostert, Brian Robinson, Sanders, St. Brown, Keenan, Puka, Evans, Garrett, Wilson. Do I trade Mixon, Mostert for ETN and Myers? Team is 5-2. Still fine if Dell or Elijah Moore. Oh, that's tough. In the second flex. I think we probably hold on to Mixon and Mostert. I understand the thought process here. If you do get Devon Achane back in the long term, this may turn into a 3-man running back by committee. I don't think we can do it, though. Sam says, who would you try to get for James Cook and Olave? I mean, personally, I'm holding on to Olave. If you were trying to pivot off of James Cook, I would do it for ETN. I'd do it for Jacobs, Walker, Swift, Barkley possibly. But I'm a big Olave guy. So honestly, I would assume that most people are going to say no to that. Now, Julian says, 10 DBBR, someone offered me Dak, Curtis, TJ Sutton for Ingram, Burrow, T. I have depth of receiver, but streaming quarterbacks at the moment. So going for Burrow to Dak, I mean, hell, you're streaming quarterback for one more week. Yeah, Burrow. Burrow to Dak, downgrade. T to Hawkinson, slight upgrade. Or let's go Evan Ingram to TJ, upgrade. T to Curtis Samuel, Cortland Sutton. Curtis Samuel, Cortland Sutton have zero value in a 10-team league. I would do the deal if we could keep T Higgins, but not if we're having to go through and sell Higgins. Now, Solo 7th says, traded Walker for Smith. We have Bijan Pacheco, Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr. as my running backs. Amon-Ra, Lamb, Deontay, JSN. What are your thoughts? I think it makes sense to go and sell Kamara. I think he's an intriguing sell-high candidate. I think that Devonta Smith is an intriguing buy-low candidate at the same time. However, I will say that from a value proposition, you have much more value with Alvin Kamara right now. Where I do think that we probably sold low here, my friend. Isaac says, Thielen, Garrett Wilson, Nico on bye. We have to choose between Debo, Myers, Puka's wide receiver 1, Gibbs or Jordan Mason. We're going to go Gibbs. Debo, Myers. We'll go Debo if he plays, but the issue is we have no idea if he will be good to go, so you may end up being stuck playing Myers. And should I trade Nico for another receiver? It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I think we would if you could, but obviously the question is, like, what does that look like, right? Like, how easy is it to actually go and trade Nico Collins at this point, especially with him on bye? Y'all notice there are a lot of players that we always have on, like, buy low videos that are on bye because typically, for whatever reason, it's so much easier to trade for a player while they are on bye when that person you're trading them from doesn't actually have them in their starting lineup. Okay. Now, Isaac says, I'm playing a 6-0 team with Keenan. Yeah, you can't be really thinking about that. That's not going to be impacting our long-term decisions here, my friend. Let me swing this back around to Steven's question. And real quick, we are 3 likes away, now only 2 likes away from hitting 1,000 likes on this live stream. If you want to be our 1,000th like on the stream, ladies and gentlemen, go down there, hit that like button. Of course, if you have not done so already, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. I've live streamed every single day since April. I'm going to live stream every single day until 2024. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And Underdog has been nuts with the special pick'ems as of late, where you're going to get a Derek Carr special pick'em more than less than half a total yard with promo code FLOCK, and a LeBron special pick'em more than less than half a point for NBA tip-off as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that. Steven says, sorry about the super chat about running backs and marathons. I swam a 50 Olympic pool laps and then put Jaleel as my RB2 this week. I'd rather swim another 50 laps. Respect, my man. That is awesome. How long is an Olympic pool? For training for the Ironman, I've been swimming in a 25-yard pool. How long is an Olympic swimming pool? 50 meters is nuts. Meters to yards. So it's 54 yards. That's not there and back. Is that just, yeah, that's just the link. That is crazy, my man. I need to see if are there Olympic pools in Austin? Because training for this Ironman, the most frustrating thing is swimming in like the 25-yard lap pool, just turning around nonstop. Olympic swimming pool in Austin. We'll look at this later on. I should not be doing this on the live stream. Let's go to our next question here. Our next question coming out from, I believe Cameron says, 10-team Dynasty Superflex contending. We have Allen, Lawrence, Hall, Etienne, Hill, Olave, Gibbs, Andrews, Ridley, Higgins, Fields, Zach Wilson on the bench. Should we move Justin Fields or Pickett for Pickett, Gabe Davis, and a second? I would say no. And the reason being is fundamentally, if it is going to be that 10-team Superflex league, just the depth is really not going to make a difference, right? So we could say if it is a 10-team Superflex format, 12-team would be a little bit different. Or maybe if it was a super deep starting lineup requirement league. But unless it is that, like, you are not going to have Gabe Davis as the difference in if you win or lose your league. So we're essentially selling Justin Fields for Kenny Pickett. You know, I've been the longtime Justin Fields hater in Dynasty. I mean, that's how we've gotten more YouTube hate threats than anything else on the planet is over the past few years saying that Justin Fields is not a good real-life quarterback. But yeah, still in a 10-team Superflex league where we are optimizing for upside, I don't think we can. Mario coming out says 1 point per 10 yards. Love or Stafford. Oh, that is crazy. You're getting 1 point per 10 passing yards, my man. I mean, we are going to go ahead. We will take Stafford here. I mean, really just good passing volume in an offense that has both Kupp as well as Puka. And then Lockett or Walker, we're going to go Walker. And then, yeah, we'll go Walker over Myers as well. Really good matchup against Arizona. Archie coming out saying 4-2, 12-team, 3 receivers in a flex. We have Goff, Eckler, Brian Robinson, and Monra, Kirk, Smith, Hollywood, Laporta. Then on the bench, we have White, Najee, Roshan, Hopkins, Kyler. Any ideas? Should I offer for Achane? I actually like the idea of going and seeing if we can trade for Achane. I'd say 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league. I'd probably try to trade for Jefferson first. So if you could send, say, Brian Robinson for Achane, go do it. I mean, if you need to throw in like Hopkins, who cares? Send Hopkins and Brian Robinson, get Achane. And I probably don't do this week, but if we can wait another week and then be 1 week closer to actually having Jefferson back, then at that point, if we could possibly send, say, St. Brown for Jefferson, let's do it, but we would wait till next week. Miles says 12-team PBR 5-1. Trade Etienne, Roshan, Rice for A.J. Brown, Waddle. We have Jefferson, DK, Myers, Rice, JSN, Dobbs, Etienne, Walker, Roshan, Wilson, Hunt as main running backs. Etienne to A.J. Brown, probably give me A.J. Brown. Roshan and Rice to Waddle, give me Waddle. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to go ahead and make this play, my friend. I mean, especially if we have like Walker at running back as well. And then just churn the waiver wire. But we're 5-1. We're more so thinking about long-term, not necessarily short-term team need here, right? Okay. Trone says, should I trade Evans for Lockett or Addison? Oh, hell yes, I would. Trade Zach Evans there easily. Now, Cody says, back again, rebuild 2 quarterback, 10-team BBR league. Dak, Love, Mahomes. Brees, Gibbs, Adams, Flowers, London, Pitts. Was offered Jameson and Brian Robinson for Love. No. I mean, if it's a 2-quarterback rebuild league, you have no reason trading for a running back, right? Like this is, if you're rebuilding, you want to just go through and you just want to send pretty much any running back that you can for long-term value in the form of picks, preferably. It's probably not. Max out again says 10-team single flex PPR, 2 and 4. Send Brees, Ridley, Flowers to get A.J. Brown, Ford, and Goddard. Would you do it? We have Eckler and Mostert, Lamb, Waddle, Musgrave. Ridley to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown easily. Flowers to Goddard, kind of up to you. We're paying Brees to get it done. 10-team, 1-flex league where we're loaded up at running back. I'm okay in doing this, specifically because we are 2 and 4 and we need points right now, but we are paying a considerable amount to get that done, though. I think we are. Okay. Zach says 12-team, single flex, full BBR league. We have Stafford, Watson, Swift, James Cook, Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, Kupp, Wilson, Olave, Zay, Logan Thomas. Traded Zay and Jonathan Taylor for Gibbs and Ingram. What are your thoughts and what moves should we look to make? Jonathan Taylor to Gibbs, I think it's a downgrade, even in a full BBR league. Zay to Evan Ingram, I think it makes sense. So honestly, I don't love it, my friend. I mean, I think that ultimately we have a very well-balanced team where we don't really have to be doing much. I like the fact that we get a startable tight ends. We just kind of want to be patient and get Deshaun Watson back in. But while Gibbs definitely is moving up rankings with the David Montgomery injury, at the same time, I mean, Jonathan Taylor is expanding his role in Indy. And we've seen JT be elite in fantasy before, right? Like last year, he was the #1 overall pick in fantasy. Where now if you're paying that, it's much tougher to get behind. Thin Blue Line coming out says 10-team, happy BR 2 and 4. We have Lamar, Eckler, Brian Robinson, Chase, Godwin, Ayuk, Nico, Andrews, Jacoby. Any suggestions or upgrades week at running back? Okay. I don't necessarily think we're weak at running back. I think Lamar's going to be great. I think Brian Robinson is startable. If you wanted to see if we could go out there and send a depth wide receiver with Brian Robinson to get a running back upgrade, you can. But I don't mean so you have to, though. I mean, you're in a great spot. Now, Mosa coming out saying, Mason, I need some help. Kyron may be out multiple weeks, and I am nervous. Team is Herbert, Henry, Kyron, St. Brown, Keenan, Higgins, Thielen, Jaleel Foreman. Do I wait it out or make a move? The thing is, you have to wait it out. I mean, I do think that it's interesting to go out there and see if we could get something for Kyron Williams. I mean, I actually just recorded a video about selling Kyron previously. If you could sell Kyron in like a depth wide receiver and go get to a player like Kenneth Walker, it's an absolute no-brainer. What I'd be a little bit worried about Kyron is not necessarily only that he misses multiple weeks, but at the same time, there is that outside chance that Kyron Williams like misses some time and you find yourself in a position where whatever running back fills in does well, and they kind of turn it into a little bit more of a committee, right? Where Kyron can still be the lead back. Since we are 6-0, though, if you can't find a price point that you love, you'd be the one team that could overcome the lack of Kyron. Riley says, I'm in a 10-team league. I'm 4-2 with Tua, Taylor, Mostert, Puka, Andrews. Then on the bench, we have Wilson, Mixon, Nico Collins, Evan Ingram, and Justin Fields. Any thoughts on the roster? Phenomenal bench. I mean, the reason we have a bunch of these guys down there is because they're on bye. But still, a great team overall. The only thing I'd say is, I mean, Evan Ingram tied in with a considerable amount of volume, and he does have a lot of value at this point. But if you wanted to go through and see if we can send Evan Ingram and another player down there on that bench like Nico Collins and go get a long-term upgrade at wide receiver, I think that would make a lot of sense because we have Mark Andrews here. Low Rise says PBR double flex. Do we play Lawrence and Ridley? And what's my second flex? If Lawrence plays, then sure. Out of Olave, Watson, Osborne, Jamison, we're going to go Olave easily. And then running back, Bijan, Brian Robinson, Jeff Wilson, Foreman, Watson, Ritter at quarterback. Yeah, so we're going to go Bijan, Brian Robinson at running back. Wide receiver, we would go Ridley, Olave. Then in the flex spots, we're going to go Christian Watson, Jordan Mason if we have no CMC, but if we're not cleared with CMC, maybe instead you're stuck in a spot where you have to go through and play someone like Osborne. But right now, we just don't know. But it's nice to have those guys. Both in the same game, right? So even if we're kind of wrong there, but. Embry says, do I trade Pollard and Pittman for JT Ayuk and Pacheco? Pollard to JT, downgrade. Pittman to Ayuk, lateral move. We're paying Pacheco to get it done. We have Allen. Honestly, no. I think when we have a fine team like this, where we have multiple starting wide receivers, I think that we would rather just hold on to Pollard. I do project out Pollard as like a top 5 running back rest of season. I know it sucks that obviously we're dealing with the Pollard bye right now, but it's not like JT's cleared through his bye either. I would probably hold on to Pollard, and I have way more JT than Pollard at this point. Anthony says, Superflex, Olave for London and a few seconds. I think I'd rather have Olave. Assuming it's Dynasty, right? Okay. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we've been live for almost 3 hours. Let me go pee. I'll be back in 1 second. God, it's hot in this room, ladies and gentlemen. Justin says, oh, no, actually, we got to swing this back to the other screen. I apologize. That would have been bad. I think we would have probably ended up skipping like 5 questions if we would have done that. All right. Liam has our next question here. Let's go ahead and let's pull up Liam's question. Says, should I trade A.J. Brown for Jonathan Taylor and Devonta Smith? 14-team BBR league where we have Swift, Montgomery. My other receivers are Diggs, Ridley, and Dobbs. 14-team league, yes. 14-team league where the depth's going to be much harder to come by. I think that we are going to go ahead and we will make this play, my friend. Now, Prada Pink Slip says 12-team BBR 4-2. Trade Ayuk Amari for Jamar Chase. Yes, we would do this easily. We have Hill, especially if you have like Hill as well. Yes, pairing up Chase, Hill, ETN, Pollard, nutso team, especially as we are going to get Kyler back. Yeah, I mean, trading Miles Sanders for Ayuk does look really good at this point. Jake says pulled off Flowers for Devonta Smith. We have Hurts and A.J. Brown. I honestly may rather have Smith, to be honest. Reed says Ingram, Gibson, McKinnon, Akers, Reynolds. 16-team league, half PPR. If we're having to pick one of these guys, my friend, I think we are going to go with we're going to go Craig Reynolds if Reynolds plays. Keontae Ingram as a backup option. Now, the real Dirty Dan coming out saying 10-team PPR 3-3. We have Hurts, Bijan, Brees, Lamb, Moore, Andrews, Godwin, Stevenson, Roshan, Deontay, JSN, Downs, Pierce, and just added Kyler off waivers. Should we trade Jalen Hurts for an elite running back or a wide receiver? If you could trade like Jalen Hurts and Godwin and go get like Jamar Chase, then sure. I would rather try to go through and sell Kyler if we can. But I mean, if you want it, how about this? You can do that if you want. If we get an extremely compelling price, But on top of getting a great price, I also want to be a little bit patient and at least wait another week where we are a little closer to Kyler Murray coming back, because obviously Kyler's not playing this week. Ethan says, trade Pittman, Amari, Brees for A.J. Brown, or am I giving up too much? It's a 12-team single flex league. You're probably giving up too much. I think you're probably only wanting to give up Brees and one of those receivers. Jackson says, I gave up Jacobs, DJ Moore, Hawkinson for Diggs, Pacheco. So Jacobs to Pacheco downgrade, DJ Moore, Hawkinson to Diggs. Now we have Kyron. I honestly would have done it if it would have just been the Jacobs and DJ Moore for Diggs, but also to trade, Hawkinson and DJ Moore for Diggs, but also to trade Jacobs down to Pacheco. I don't like it. Now we have Mahomes, Kyron, Diggs, Chase, Laporta, Jonathan Taylor did. I think you did give up too much. I mean, I understand that JT hasn't looked good whenever you watch him, but still, at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter if he's looked good or not. He's leading the NFL in targets at the running back position, you know. So when you have that kind of target volume, it's just really easy to go out there and make that play for. Someone like that. Okay, now our next question coming out from Michael says, Dynasty got offered Eckler, Christian Watson, a second and a first for Jamar in a second. What are your thoughts? Does this help us win now? Not necessarily. Probably a little bit, but not a super big deal. Take out the seconds. Would we rather have Jamar versus Eckler, Watson, and a first? Long-term, I'd rather have Jamar Chase in Dynasty, my friend. Wyatt says, just traded Terry Godwin for Higgins and Sutton. I'm fine with it. Obviously it looks much better if either Judy or Sutton get dealt out of Denver. Tanner says 3-3, 10-team BBR, where we have Fields, Love, Bijan, Kyron, JT, Adams, Olave, London, Ingram. Panicking with my injuries and nobody wants fair trades. Any help? Okay. You're 3-3, so I'd say it's not the end of the world if we are dealing with injuries. Not the end of the world, though. You got Kyron injured. You got Fields injured. You have Love to play this week. I'd go pick up Kyler if we can. If you wanted to sell Kyron Williams, if we could pivot and go get to we're not going to be able to get to JT here. But if you were really scared and you want to sell Kyron for Mixon, then sure. Jerry says 3-3, Kyron's out. We need one for the flex this week. Who do I start between Michael Thomas, Jordan Mason, Judy, Kendrick Bourne, and Josh Downs? If we get the clarity that CMC will for sure miss, we're going to go Jordan Mason. If we don't know, we may end up having to pivot over to Michael Thomas. Justin says trade it Devontae Adams for Jefferson straight up. What do you think? If you have a winning record and we can think long-term, I think you would definitely prefer Jefferson in the long-term over Adams. Okay. Well, let's swing this back around to the other side. And our next question coming out from Royono. Name I can never pronounce, but always happy to see him. 12-team BBR. We have Hurts, Robinson, Kyron, Gibbs, Roshan, Spears, Chuba, AJ, Jamar, Watson, TJ, Deontay. With Kyron being hurt, what should I try to do at running back? The bye weeks are definitely hurting. Okay. We're starting Brian Robinson and Gibbs this week. We have AJ, Watson at wide receiver, Deontay at the flex. Next week, we get Jamar back in. I think you're just fine. We have the elite quarterback. I know maybe this isn't the strongest week for this team, but by no means should we feel like we need to be panicking here. I think you have a great squad. What can we do here? I think you just got to be patient. I know it's frustrating. I know it sucks. If you wanted to try to sell low on Kyron Williams, you can. But ultimately, you have a fine team. Like, I don't necessarily think you have to be too worried. Globes to the Dome says, I give Cup for Swift and Zay Flowers. Definitely want Cup here. 2 and 4, we have Mahomes, White, Mixon, Cup, Lamb, Puka. Yeah, so we have a ton of wide receiver depth, but I don't want to be making a 2-for-1 deal in this fashion. If you wanted to sell like Zay Flowers and Rashad White and go get a player like if you wanted to sell like Drake London and Rashad White and go get Swift, that's the deal we're looking to make. We're wanting to get the best player, not sell the best player. Nick says, hey, Mason, got offered Moss for Gabe Davis, then at running back. We have Jacobs, Najee, Dillon, and Justice Hill. PPR receivers are Lamb, Evans, Flowers, Pittman, Palmer. I am fine if you wanted to do this, but I do think that Zach Moss in the long term is going to turn into be that like Tyler Algier type player where you can go through and you can start him if you really needed to, but you're never really that excited about it. I think long term will be a little bit more touchdown or bust. And you'll be in a position where the primary value that he has is that elite handcuff appeal if you were to have the starter to go down in front of him. Ray says 8-team super flex, 2 wide receivers. We have Lawrence, Goff, Pollard, Saquon, JT, Ramondre, Hunt, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Hollywood. Offered Lawrence or Ramondre for Josh Allen, but he countered with Goff and Pollard. 8-team Superflex league. Obviously, I mean, depth's not going to matter as much. I would counter this, and if it's an 8-team Superflex format, I would say if you want Goff, I'll give you Goff and Ramondre. Or I'll give you, I would counter with Goff and Ramondre if you want Goff. And then also, I think you could look at Goff, Saquon, possibly just because it's a $10 league. I'm sorry, just because it's an 8-team league. Now, Jordan says 10-team BBR single flex. Now 3-3. We lost Anthony Richardson. How does the team look rest of season? We have Goff, Lawrence, Bijan, Walker, Gibbs, Madison, Charbonnet, Algier, Diggs, Adams, Nico, Deontay, Michael Thomas, Waller, Kyler. Goff or Lawrence this week. We're definitely going to go with the healthy Goff, especially with all his weapons. Tough matchup, though. I think the team looks very good. I mean, running back, especially if Gibbs is going to be viable going forward. I think we get a big bounce back from Davante Adams. We've won 3 straight with Adams being nothing, and we are getting Deontay Johnson back in. Really appreciate you always being out here with us, my man. I mean, I would say maybe at this point, you could take it and say, well, if we can sell Madison and a quarterback and go get a QB upgrade, you possibly can. Dave says, full BBR 5-1, Kamara, Kyron, St. Brown for Jefferson, Pacheco, and Etienne. Five and 1, Jefferson versus St. Brown, maybe Jefferson. Pacheco versus Kamara, full BBR Kamara. Kyron versus Etienne, Etienne by a mile. Let's go with the Etienne and Jefferson side, specifically on a 5-1 roster. I don't think we would do it on a team that's definitely not a 1-5. Coach Box says, I'm 1-3 and trying to negotiate. Thank you as always, Mason. No, thank you, my man. Wishing you the best of luck. Now, Eric says, 10-team, 11-1 Dynasty Superflex PPR was offered Tyreek Thielen for Laporta Puka. Do we take it? Lineup is Lawrence, CMC, Jacobs, St. Brown, Waddle, Puka, Aaron Jones, Hawkinson, Cousins. We have Laporta on the bench. Yes, because this is a clear contender, and we are getting a player that will win us this league. The most frustrating thing in my mind is like someone will come out and say like, hey, I'm a contender in Dynasty. Should I make this trade for Terry McLaurin? I'm like, okay, if you're trading for Terry McLaurin, you need him to be a contender. You're probably not an actual contender, you know? However, here, Tyreek wins you this league, so you can do it. Brian says 12-team BBR where we have DK, Keenan, Pollard, Bijan, Kamara, Terry, Ford. Thinking of trading Terry and Ford for Waddle. I would love to do it. I mean, we've been saying for a while now to sell Ford. The reason being is just because projecting him as a running back by committee in this offense. And I don't necessarily think that he is talented enough to overcome being a running back by committee, being in a committee with Hunt. 702 B-side says 4-2, 12-team full BBR. We have Tua, CMC, Etienne, A.J. Brown, Ridley, Hopkins, Dobbs, Ingram, Pitts. Traded Hopkins and Pitts for Aaron Jones. Oh, phenomenal move. I think we did exactly what we want. Now I think you just got to sit on your hands and wait for that long-term upside to come in. But yeah, I think that you are in a great, great spot there. I mean, yeah, especially if we have Evan Ingram, who are obviously playing over Pitts. Lucas says, who would you try to get for Pacheco and Devonta Smith? I think you're going to get less than you're expecting. If you really wanted to go out there and send those guys, I think you'd be looking at like ETN, but Saquon Barkley, maybe he goes low as Jonathan Taylor. But in reality, I mean, I think you should be holding on to Smith right now. I think if anything, you should be buying Smith, and nobody wants the guy. G-Ray says 12-team PBR 6-0. We have Allen, Pollard, Walker, Hill, Amari, Pittman, Cook, Ferguson, and Njoku, Deshaun Watson, Jameson. My drafted team, only waiver wire ads. What do you think? Trade recommendations, please, not tight end. Happy birthday, bro. One love. Appreciate you, my man. Okay. Great. Oh, phenomenal team. But if we're trying to figure out anything now, if we could send James Cook, David Njoku, and go get to a top 4 tight ends, go get to someone like Andrews, Hawkinson, Laporta, I think that would be, oh, you're saying not tight end, not tight end. I apologize. I thought you wanted a tight end. If you could send like Michael Pittman and James Cook on a 6-0 roster, if that team that has Jefferson really needs some production right now, you could afford to hold Jefferson for the long-term upside, even if he's not going to get you anything right now. So you could possibly look to make that play. Rusty, always happy to see us, says 12-team Happy BR, single flex, 3-3. Should we offer Pittman and Ford for Waddle? I think you probably want a little more value. We have, I would offer Watson and Ford for Waddle, or Deontay and Ford for Waddle. Especially if we have this kind of running back depth, especially, my friend. But, I mean, Pittman in particular is just dominating with targets right now. Okay. Were you on it for the question earlier? We were 4-2. Yeah, then at that point, we're probably a little bit more willing to hold on to Kyron and just hope that he is back in the long term. Okay. Actually, we're going to have to swing this to the other side. So I apologize. Give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second to swing this to the other page. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, Underdog has been going nuts with special pick'ems as of late. You actually have a Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for Thursday night, and a LeBron special pick'em, more than less than half a total point for NBA tip-off. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that. But let's move this over. Our next switch coming out from Zach says, 12-team full BBR, should I trade Tua, Etienne, Puka for Tyreek and Goff? Tua to Goff, downgrade. Etienne, Puka for Tyreek, upgrade. We have Pacheco, JT, Aaron Jones. If you have another viable quarterback that you're fine going through and playing the matchups with Jared Goff, I'm okay with it. But we are paying a considerable amount here. Now, Dim Believe says 10-team full BBR, 2 and 4. 2 receivers, 1 flex. We have Lamar, Jacobs, Bijan, Kupp, Puka, Andrews, Waddle, Smith, Deontay, Achane, Jeff Wilson. I hate to give you this answer. You have to sell Devon Achane. You have to package him together with one of these other options, like Jalen Waddle, and go get a stud wide receiver for that flex spot. Sell the long-term upside, get some points in this lineup right now that will be able to help us out if we're 2 and 4. Junior says 6-0, 12-team PBR single flex. We have Stroud, Eckler, Bijan, DK, Olave, TJ, Addison, Montgomery, Downs, Thielen, Deontay, Any trades, we also have Deshaun Watson. If we have Watson, I would say no trades. I'd see if we could pick up Kyler off waivers. I mean, when we have this kind of wide receiver depth, if you really wanted to see if we could sell like DK Metcalf and maybe Adam Thielen and go get Justin Jefferson on a 6-0 roster, if somehow, some way we can pull it off, let's go for it. Ty says 12-team full BBR 5-1, where we have Purdy, Herbert, Pollard, JT, Stevenson, Pierce, Roshan, Jeff Wilson, AJ, Puka, Thielen, Michael Thomas, Quentin Johnson, Ertz, Ferguson. Any moves? I mean, it looks like Ertz will no longer be startable for us with Trey McBride expanding his role, so it'd be nice if we could afford a tight end upgrade. I don't necessarily know. I don't know if we can afford one, though. I think we're probably going to be sitting on our hands here, actually. If Purdy does ever have a spike week, then at that point we could look to sell Purdy and possibly a tight end for a tight end upgrade. But for now, I think it's a very well-balanced team that we are looking to hold on to. Now we can move this back around. But our next question coming out from Anto says, 3-3, 10-team Happy BR League, 3 receivers, 1 flex, where we have Purdy, JT, Pacheco, AJ Brown, St. Brown, Lamb, Frymuth, Watson, Ford. And then on the bench, Rojo, Hopkins, Gabe, Dell, Mayer, Achan. Forder, Achan / Lamb for Devontae Adams. I'd probably rather have Achan, Lamb over Adams, even if Adams is intriguing by low. And then Lamb for Aaron Jones. I'm going to go Lamb here with a 3 wide receiver aspect. Lamb for Ayuk. I'm going to go Lamb. Lamar for Purdy and Ford. This is the one deal that I would do. I'd go ahead and I would sell Brock Purdy and Jerome Ford for Lamar Jackson. I don't think you have to be worried about CeeDee Lamb, my friend. I think Lamb's going to be fine. Doug Van Dan says, do you think Roshan plays drop for Keontae? I mean, I think it's probably too early to say. I'm expecting Roshan to play. Obviously, I do not know, but what we have seen more times than not with players in concussion protocol this season is they're missing 1 week and back the next. Now, Isaiah says 10-team full BBR 2-4. We have Hurts, Saquon, JT, Addison, Adams, Hawkinson, Watson. And then on the bench, we have Brees, Deontay, Dell, Jefferson. Should I trade Jefferson? Offered Olave, Lockett, but yeah, that's gross. I would say no, because we get Deontay Johnson coming back. We have at least enough depth to get by. However, with that being said, it is a fine move if you wanted to go through and sell Justin Jefferson on a 2-4 roster. We just need more value than that. Now, we already answered this question. Daniel says 12-team double flex 2-4. We have Burrow, Howell, Barkley, Walker, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Spears, Akers, St. Brown, Rashee Rice, Michael Thomas, Musgrave, and Njoku. What do we do to make the playoffs? So, I mean, double flex league depth's going to be a little bit more important to come by. I think that we don't necessarily need to be focusing on upgrading a tight end here. Wide receiver that we have is just completely trashed. We have not really much depth at all. So what I would look to do is, if we could, I would sell David Montgomery for the best wide receiver that we can get in return. With Montgomery, obviously a player that's been great, you are very excited about, but the fundamental issue is this is still going to be a running back that at the end of the day is, I mean, sorry to say it, but missing time and not helping a 2-4 roster when we need help right now. So I think we would look to go ahead and make that move, my friend. But Ycheck says, no question. Just want to say I appreciate you. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping by and showing some support. Tanner, welcome to the flock, my man. Delicious Dan says, trade Jefferson, Pierce for Amon-Ra, Javonte, 4-2 record. Pierce, Javonte, up to you. I mean, neither guy's exciting. Jefferson for Amon-Ra, St. Brown, 4-2. I think you can maybe go Jefferson. 6-0. I would definitely go Jefferson. If you want to go St. Brown and make sure you can win right now, do it. Jerry says, 3-3. Do I trade Kyron? I think Kyron's an easy sell if you're 2-4. If you're 1-5, 3-3, it's going to be a little bit tougher. I do have a video coming out tomorrow with our sell high players, and Kyron was on there, to be honest with you. Now, Blake says 10-team, Happy BR, double flex. We have Allen, Mixon, Brees, Diggs, Lamb, Laporta, Lockett, Hollywood. I was offered Waddle and Devonta Smith for Stephon Diggs. I'm 6-0. Do I accept the depth and give up the stack? So it's a double flex league, but it is only a 10-team league. I mean, you are sending the best player in the deal on a very strong roster. No, you have enough wide receiver depth where you don't need to make this deal, my friend. I would just go ahead. I would keep Stephon Diggs, especially when we have that stack with Josh Allen and we're 6-0. I mean, we can build depth off the waiver wire for the next few weeks. Now, Omar says, hey, Mason, I'm 5-1 in a 12-team full BBR where we have Allen, CMC, Swift, AJ Brown, Amari, Ayuk, Hawkinson. Should we sell Swift for Achane? I understand the thought process, right? Like we're 5-1. We can afford to think long-term. But ultimately, no, I think that you are going to be selling too much. If you wanted to wait another week or two, getting closer to the Devon Achane return, you can go ahead and do it. Or if you want to sell one of the depth receivers, say like Amari, then sure, but no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. Ray says, back to my first super chat. He's a Cowboys fan and wants Pollard. Okay, let me see if I can find this, my friend. I mean, I think Pollard is a... keep in mind, I did not draft a lot of Pollard this year. So I would love to come out here and go... Oh, he wants... I would love to go out here and go, ha, ha, ha. Pollard's not good. I told you, no, Pollard's a top 5 running back rest of season. He has the exact workload you'd want. He's being used as a receiver. He really wants Pollard. If it's that 18 league, I'm okay with you doing it. By no means am I like super excited about it though. Rawlings coming out says, been starting David Njoku at tight end all year, so can't get much worse. Musgrave, Mayer, Everett, all on the waiver wire. Who do we take this week? Rest of season, you're the GOAT. Appreciate you, my friend. Hate to give you this answer. I'm probably running it back with David Njoku this week, even though I believe Njoku is like the tight end 22 so far from a points per game perspective. Obviously, it has not been exciting. If we are looking to roster someone for rest of season upside, I actually don't mind throwing Michael Mayer down there at the bottom end of the bench for rest of season upside, though, because, I mean, this is someone that can continue to get better. Just not startable right now, right? Okay. Mixter says, got offered London for Rachaad White. We have 3 good running backs. No, you want Rachaad White. London's not viable. Kevin says Jefferson and Pacheco for JT, DK, and Brian Robinson. Or Jefferson for Kamara and Adams. We're going to go Kamara and Adams. I'd rather have Kamara over Pacheco. Adams versus JT. Actually, wait. I'm sorry. I'd rather have Kamara over DK, Adams versus JT, Brian Robinson. I guess you're having to pay Pacheco with it. Yeah, if you're having to pay Pacheco with it, I think it's a no-brainer. We're going to trade Justin Jefferson for Kamara and Devontae Adams if we need points right now. Omar says 10-team PBR single flex. We have Pittman, Flowers, Godwin, CMC, Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Rashee Rice. Any trade recommendations, and who should we start this week? Start Aaron Jones, Pacheco at running back. Wide receiver, we're going to go Pittman, Godwin, Flowers. I mean, if you could sell Rashee Rice with any of these guys, get upgraded in the starting lineup, I think that would be appealing. Rashee Rice has shown a lot of promise, and people are really excited about the long term of what it may bring, and I completely understand why. The issue that you have to have with Rashee Rice is he's not really running any routes in this offense. And on top of it, if you look at what you have, now you're getting the addition of McCole Hardman, so there's still, I mean, there's just a little more target competition here as well. So I don't know. Austin says 12-team PPR, 2 and 4. Start Geno Lawrence, Jacobs, Walker, Diggs, Puka, Chase, Laporta. Bench is JT, Moss, Charbonnet. Decline to trade a Puka, Jacobs for Gibson, Jefferson. What do you think? 2 and 4. Jefferson's not doing much for us. We need points right now. Start Geno over Lawrence this week. Very strong team as well. I think it'll be a much better team going forward. I mean, it's understandable with the injuries that this team dealt with, especially that injury to Jonathan Taylor. Why we started a little slow. I think it'll be better going forward. Kyler, happy to see us, says, hey, bro, me again. Someone trying to trade me Jacobs for Herbert. Do we take it? We have Keenan Allen. I've been appreciating the duo. My running backs are bad. We have Mixon and Moss. If our second running back's Moss, I'd probably go through and sell Justin Herbert for Josh Jacobs. If it is a one quarterback format, especially if we could go pick up Kyler off waivers, my man, or if not, we could always just go through and stream the position, right? So I think we are going to do this almost regardless. Mr. Yank says, thanks for the special pick'ems. Help me win $400. Hell yes, my man. Debo's been doing bad lately. Should we start Pittman over him? Yeah, I mean, it's because of Debo's injuries. But yeah, we will start Pittman over him. I will say it's going to be a tough spot with Pittman just going up against the Cleveland Browns. It is a very tough matchup. Ernest says, should we trade London and Godwin for Puka? If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where the depth doesn't matter, fine with it. Preston says 8-team league where we have Hurts, Eckler, Ridley, A.J. Brown, Goddard, Palmer, Mixon, Jamal, Hopkins, Kyler, Rice, and a tough spot at 2 and 4. Any trade thoughts? You're awesome, man. No, I really appreciate you, my dude. 8-team league, obviously, every time we get a chance to make an upgrade in the starting lineup, we go ahead and we take advantage. I don't necessarily know if we have a lot of depth value here, so I would love to try to help out. I'd love to say, let's go upgrade tight end. I mean, I will say it. Like, you can go, the smart thing to do if we could would be to go ahead and see if we could send, say, like, DeAndre Hopkins and Dallas Goedert and go get a tight end upgrade. But the issue is it's much, much easier said than done. I mean, much easier said than done. Okay. Nicholas says traded Diggs for Jonathan Taylor and Lamb. What do you think? I think it's fine if you really needed a running back. Ty says, would you drop Zach Ertz and pick up Jonnu off of waivers? I did rank Jonnu over Ertz this week, and yeah, like Trey McBride is expanding his role, but the thing is, I guess if you get Kyler coming back, maybe this offense could be a little bit better. So it's up to you. It's up to you. Dean says 2 and 4, 10-team BBR, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex. We have Goff, Love, Kupp, Adams, Higgins, Thielen, Osborne, Downs, Dell, JT, Henry, Moss, Stevenson, Jaleel, and Goddard. Made a lot of moves to get out of a disaster roster. Anything else that we can do? Three wide receivers league. I want to build around the wide receiver depth, which is what we've already done. If we could go through and sell like Downs and Stevenson and get a better running back, we do it. In reality, I think that you're at a very good spot. If it was a 2 wide receiver league, I think we would go and sell a wide receiver and a quarterback to get an elite level option. But I think now we probably want to be sitting on our hands and letting some of these guys get through their bye weeks. And then at that point, we can go out there and see if we can afford that deal where we send one of those depth wide receivers and a quarterback to get that upgrade at the QB position. But it's tougher to do it in a 3 wide receiver league when we're dealing with all the buys. Now, Mosley says 3 and 3, 14-team full BBR, where we have Watson, Bijan, Saquon, Keenan, Lockett, Amari, Laporta. Any trades or upgrades that you'd recommend? Not in a 14-team format. 14-team format, incredibly impressive that we managed to stay 3 and 3 and stay alive with the Saquon injury. Now Saquon's back. I mean, if you wanted to pivot off Saquon and go get to a running back like Kenneth Walker, even in a full PPR format, we do it. I don't know if it's possible in your league, but you can try. If it was that 10-team league, I think we would say, let's sell one of the wide receivers with Watson and go get an upgraded quarterback. But no, the wide receiver depth, someone like Lockett will make a big difference in that 14-team format. So I think we are chilling on our hands here, my friend. Now, Geoff on Stacks says 10-team BBR, 2 and 4 starting Lamar, Eckler, Jordan Mason, Ridley, Godwin, Laporta, Amari. And then on the bench, we have Pollard, Samuel, Judy, Davis, Pitts, Achane. Any trade ideas? I think that this is going to be a rough go if we do not have CMC missing this week. And honestly, very good team in the long term when we get Pollard back into the starting lineup. The only thing I'd say is 2 and 4. If you could get a really appealing price tag, you don't have to do it with this team because we are pretty strong. But if you could get a very nice price by selling Devon Achane and Jordan Mason and going for another running back here, I think that would make a lot of sense. but not something we have to do right now. Now, running back Russ, a sub Mason 2-4, where we have Tua, Lamb, Ridley, Ayuk, Bijan, Etienne, Musgrave, Addison. And then on the bench, we have Ford, McLaurin, Cousins, JSN, Roschon. Any trade ideas? 2-4, we're looking to sell that long-term upside to get points in right now. I would say really the only thing I would do is I'd approach the Anthony Richardson team. I'd approach the Justin Fields team and go, hey, man, I'll give you Kirk Cousins and Luke Musgrave. Give me a tight end upgrade. Or, hey, man, I'll give you Kirk Cousins and Jordan Addison. Give me a stud wide receiver. Like when we have Tua, we can start him every single week regardless. And I know Cousins may get better when Jefferson comes back in later in the season, yada, yada, yada. Maybe we're going to wait for that. I don't know. I just think it makes sense to see what we could get at least. Anto says, happy BR, 3-3. And 8-4. Teams HN Watson for Ayuk. I would rather have Devon Achane and Christian Watson over Brandon Ayuk. I don't know what the other part regarding the records is about, though, to be honest with you. Now, Abby says 12-team happy BR, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Currently 4-2. We have Amon-Ra and Christian Watson. Traded London and Amari for Olave. What are your thoughts? 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. The wide receiver depth, like London's, not really going to make a difference, especially when we're strong at the very top. I really like going and getting Olave. I mean, when you've had a healthy Derek Carr, Olave's averaging double-digit targets, and Olave's seeing over 100 receiving yards almost every game. While you have Derek Carr healthy, that is. Flip side fishing, always happy to see us. Says 10-team league, full BBR. Need to choose 3 receivers this week. We have Waddle, Ridley, Watson, Addison. Lawrence is a sprained knee. Addison plays the Niners, and Watson plays the Broncos. Yes, sir. Which is why if you look at our rankings, I mean, we have these guys closer than you'd initially think, because you would see this and you go, we easily go with Ridley, and I mean, we easily bench Christian Watson here, right? That'd be your initial reaction. But no, I mean, if you actually look at our rankings here, because of these matchups, I have Christian Watson at 18. I mean, I do have Addison at 15, even despite the tough matchup. You'll see his underdog pick'em is higher as well. If Lawrence plays, I bench Watson. Obviously, Lawrence won't be 100%, but if Lawrence plays at all, I bench Watson. And if Lawrence misses, I bench Ridley. So it does depend on Lawrence's availability for tomorrow night. Now, Nico says 10-team, 3-3. Start 3 receivers in a flex. We have Herbert, Bijan, Brian Robinson, Pacheco, Adams, Evans, Pittman, Gabe Davis, Andrews. 2-4 teams selling Tyreek. Also have Moss, Ramadre. Any tips? So I'd say this team, depth's going to matter a little bit more. So you're telling me that they really need help at running back. So if we could go through and send them, say, Pacheco and Devontae Adams, Pacheco and Michael Pittman, Pacheco and really any of those pieces, I think it would be an absolute no-brainer. Or Brian Robinson or any of those pieces. Or if we can send them Bijan Robinson straight up for Tyreek Hill, I would at least start with all those offers and see if we get a counter. And if it's just like Bijan and Gabe Davis for Tyreek, then we can go ahead and do that if we wanted. Now, BS24 says 10-team full BBR, 3-3. We have Burrow, Pollard, Mixon, Hill, Amari, Ferguson, Collins, Gibbs, Addison, Hopkins, Roschon. What moves would you look to make? Hopkins was that solid guy for us last week. I'd still sell him if we can. If you could sell Hopkins and Ferguson and get to a viable tight end, that'd be great. In reality, much, much easier said than done. If you could sell Addison and Ferguson and go get to Hawkinson, go get to Laporta, go get to Andrews, I would do that as well. But like I said, or Amari Cooper for that same package. Any 3 of those receivers and go get one of those top 4 tight ends. Zane says full BBR, Bijan for Waddle and Pittman. Who wins? Hook 'em horns, my man. We are going to go Bijan Robinson. But I think that should be it for this live stream. Again, thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us. And if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the stream. We've been live for about 3.5 hours. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. You can see Underdog is going crazy with the special pick'ems. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you're going to get that Derek Carr special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, Underdog is a site-wide special pick'em right now. LeBron James more than less than half a total point as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And yeah, I'll be live tomorrow before the game. Hope to get to see you there.